Okay. I think we're live. I can't tell if we're live. Sam, are we live?
It seems to be.
Okay. We'll see if it pops up here. Let me know if it pops up on your screen. Everyone, if you're watching right now, if you can hear us, please let us know. This is a different format. I've never done this before with all these gentlemen. This is kind of weird. You know, it's a total, let's just say it, sausage fest.
Here we go. I haven't checked. These days, you never know.
But, you know, loud and clear, awesome. They can hear us. Very cool. We're among the immortals. Awesome. Thank you so much. So, pretty much what this is, these are all gentlemen that are from the Portland area. We've lived here different years of our lives. We're all here now, and we're all comic book fans, collectors, and we've enjoyed this hobby for many, many years since we were young. There's maybe some gaps in our collecting history, but right now we are all on the same page, and we all love comics. But anyway, I'm going to go around the table. You guys know who I am. I'm Sam, I'm not Sam. I'm Bueller. Come on, this is going to be the show. I'm Bueller from Comics with Bueller.
Here we go.
Right here, my friend Bob. Bob, say hello to everybody.
How you doing, everybody? Bullseye Bob from Everything Comics. Glad to be here and hanging out with you guys.
This is going to be a lot of fun, I can tell. Okay, Bueller, you're up.
Okay, I am still, as far as I last checked, I'm Sam from Sam's Tangled Web.
That's right. And for the first time ever, Sleepy Reader 666 is on the Comic Bueller channel. Yeah. Why don't you tell them a little bit about your channel? They've seen these guys before.
Well, you can call me Damien or Sleepy Reader, and I have a channel where I do usually a weekly show on counting down the comics of the week that I got, and then I show hauls and do all the regular things. And sometimes I really go wild and just talk about anything. There we go.
Yeah, Damien has been doing YouTube for quite a while. Same with Sam.
Yes, 7 years for me.
7 years, 13 years for Sam.
Yeah.
A couple years for us.
I'm the youngster of the
He's
bunch.
the youngster. Well, you're probably the oldest one. But Damien and I met actually at last year's Rose City Comic Con. Was the first time we actually met in
and
person.
you had pretty much started quite recently.
Yeah, I had literally just started within like 2 or 3 months at that time. And,
and then we kept crossing wires.
yeah,
So
we kept running into each other at a comic shop or something like that, and we're finally able to put it together. He actually snuck out to my coffee shop a couple weeks ago. We were supposed to meet on a Thursday.
This is where I got this.
Yeah, and then I went in on a Wednesday, and he's sitting on the couches. So we went and hung out for hours.
Yeah,
and just talked about comics and stuff, you know, and that was a lot of fun. But you know, great
that was a lot.
Pacific Northwest guys here, all comic book fans.
Yeah.
So very honored to have Damien on the channel, and hopefully this won't be
Great
the
honor
last
for me
time.
to be here.
And he does a great job. A lot of great reviews, a lot of good insight, a lot of knowledge right here, including Sam as well.
Oh. Well, and
my
as someone
go-to.
who's been doing YouTube too long, actually watching your channel sort of introduced me to a bunch of newer people that I didn't know about.
Oh, that's awesome.
You've been kind of a hub
He's the gate.
for finding
The hub.
a lot of
I'm just like I said, I'm just the guy at the door, the doorman.
You're the doorman.
Go in and see if you like it.
Both these other guys I found out through you and a bunch of other people who turned out to be awesome. So,
Well, we didn't have a super chat. Perry Comics gave us a $1.99 and said, "Hi, Sam." Hi, Sam.
All right.
And our first
It's all
super
for
chat. It's all for Sam. So very cool. So let's go ahead and jump into some other topics. And the topics that we're going to cover today, we're just going to talk about 2019 in general. We're going to talk about the variants. We're going to talk about speculations, movie and TV, some of the stories that we all enjoyed or didn't enjoy, the good and the bad, everything from 2019. The very first thing on our list is the variants. This was a very big year for variant books. It seemed like every week it just grew and grew as far as what is available. And honestly, I don't see it dying down anytime soon. I'm curious to get your guys' opinions on variants. And Damien, we'll start with you since you're the guest. What is your opinion on the state of variants in comic books?
well, I like the basic idea of variants. I think is great. I mean, anything that gives people more choice and interesting things to get excited about comic art, that's awesome. The only thing I don't like about it is those, what do you call them, like 1 in 1,000, 1 in 100.
Yeah.
Things that, the incentive variants that pressure the stores to make gambles on how many copies to buy. So I think, like, I love the DC ones where you get 2 different covers to choose
Yeah.
from.
The A and B.
And
Here's
And
an
they're-
example of an A and a B cover. This is the B cover for a DC book, and it's just a 1-for-1, so you don't have to.
Right.
No incentive.
Right.
You just pick what you want.
And there's some variants you can order where you just order the rare variant and pay $35 or something like that.
Yeah.
If you have the money to spend $35
Right.
on a comic, you can. And that seems fair to me. I just don't like the way it manipulates comic books.
Yeah.
And I've often heard Bob say it's the golden age of covers, and I assume that's a lot to do with the variants. You know, that allows so many great artists to spend their time on covers.
Absolutely.
Sorry if I stole your line.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, I think we are truly in a renaissance of that. I mean, I love the variants when it falls into my favor.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
if there's a awesome Daredevil cover, I'm getting it. But what I don't like is when they have 5,500 covers for one single comic coming out,
Yeah.
and it just to me it devalues that one that's really good. You know, and then all the different types. You got ratios, you got incentives, you got this artist exclusive, you got store exclusives, and it's hard to keep track of it all. I mean, heck, you put a preview video out just about every week, which shows most of the covers, and I still think there's covers out there that you can't even
Oh
find.
yeah, I'll find them like 2 days later after I make that video. Oh, there's one popped up, and I'll find covers like a month after the book came out. I'll
Right.
find a cover I've never seen before. That it's just that it's an exclusive or an artist exclusive type thing, and it's it was out there. You just didn't know about it. So it's a little it gets convoluted for sure for everything that comes out. The one thing we talked about variants before.
Yeah.
And one thing we didn't cover, I wanted to bring this up. There are a couple of companies right now that are making books and making variants that are more than the regular cover price of the book, where the retailer can just buy the variant cover. Okay, it's literally a $19.99 cover, and I think it was the White Widow.
White Widow.
The
Yeah,
White
that's
Widow
right.
cover has a $19.99 variant cover price, and the store can just buy those. They don't have to buy all the ratio to get that one. How do you guys feel? I like that option. I think it's a good option. How do you guys think? What do you think about that?
I like that too, because it gives the store an opportunity to also take orders from people, right? And so you don't have the gamble that Damien's talking about. I'm happy because I get the cover that I want, and I don't have to worry about it selling out either. And so I think that's a great option. I don't know why we don't see more of that.
Yeah, I like it. What do you think, Sam?
Well, I can only speak on the Marvel side because I just get this year was crazy with the Marvel stuff, Marvel variants, and I hope that they go with that.
I think it's a good option. I think that when I saw them doing that on, I'm blanking on the name of the publisher, but I know the book. It's that White Widow book.
Yeah.
But when I looked at the cover price, it said $19.99. I was like, man, that seems like a lot. But then I realized what it was for. It was for that variant. And the simple fact that the comic shop didn't have to buy 30 copies to get that one book, and they could just buy that.
Right.
I thought it was great. I think that's a practice that more publishers should adopt, and I think it would work out a lot better. I would feel better about buying a variant. For one, the actual price is on the cover.
Right.
All the other variants, the ratio variants that you see, those shops are making up the prices.
Right.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah.
That's part of their gamble, figuring out what they can sell those for.
Exactly.
After they bought 100 extra comics they don't want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Now, do you buy variants that much, or is that really a thing
No,
you're
the
looking at?
occasional same price variants. If I really like the cover.
You ignore the ratio variants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I ignore the ratio variants, and but once I accidentally ordered a $35 cover from Antarctic Press.
Yeah.
And so that's how I found out Antarctic Press does that. They just charge more for their
Yeah.
rare variants. It was a cool cover, but not worth $35.
Yeah.
But the other downside occasionally is you might accidentally buy the same comic twice when you thought you were buying a new issue.
That's a good
Especially, I've only done that once or twice, but especially if you're new to comics, you might think, wait a minute, I don't have that.
Yeah.
So that's a little.
So, publishers, if you're watching, we like that practice. I think we're all in agreement. I think that would be kind of a cool thing, and I'm curious to see what the people in the chat think about that. Would that be something that would interest the people? Like just a flat price? Because I think it helps out. My main thing as far as variants go, I don't like what they put the comic shop through. That's where I have the problem.
Yeah.
The fact that they say, hey, comic shop owner, who is not making a lot of money in the first place, buy 50 copies of this book to get this one. And then you're probably going to sell 10 of those, and 40 of them are going in your dollar bins a month later. Or when they say you have to have a sell-through of a certain title, or you have to buy a certain amount of this title just to get this other book. I think it's a bad practice. So I think they need to figure out something different. And for a consumer, I would feel better knowing that the comic shop isn't stuck holding the bag with all these books that nobody wants. And you actually get an accurate sales figure for the title that's sold.
Right.
Because right now you don't get the actual sale. You get what was ordered through Diamond.
Right.
And a lot of these people are just buying all these books just to get the variant. And then there's 50 copies just sitting there.
Right. Well, I think it does bring up another problem. And like you said, pressuring the actual comic book vendors in their stores, comic stores. And it's causing something that I've seen here recently, where you have one shop that has a bunch of these variants on their shelves, and they got a price of $15.99 on that variant. And I can go over to another shop just up the road, and they have it for cover price. And so that particular shop, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, I'm just saying I know for a fact this is happening because I've seen it yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. And so this other shop has to raise their price, right, because of the fact that they bought all these books and they haven't been able to sell them. And they're trying to, either get their money back or raise the price to make it look like it's more expensive than it is.
Yeah.
And then the other guy over here, he's just selling it for cover price, and I think that's unfair to the comic stores.
So I have some examples. And Bob, can you help me out here?
Sure.
Just kind of show these up to the camera there as close as you can. This is an example of, you don't have to get up. You can just sit there. We don't want you to get up. Trust me.
All right.
There you go. So that's a Flash B cover for DC. That's an example of a 1-for-1 from DC. The comic shop has the owner to either get that one or the regular one. It's up to them. There's no difference in price. Some of the variants I really like this year are these Marvel 25th tribute ones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you got much of those, but these are some of my favorite ones that came out. And they made this for pretty much every one of their titles.
Yeah.
Here's a couple more here, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
This one is for Iron Man. And
I know it's hard to see that, maybe a little dark, guys, but
next one I have is Guardians of the Galaxy 6.
I like that one.
That's really cool. So I want you guys to take on this type of variant. Okay, this is a variant that is celebrating something, like an event going on, or there's a new series launch. How do you guys feel about those type of variants where they're just doing a variant across the board? They did ones with like the Battleground video game. They made video game variants for every one of their books. Battle lines. There you go.
Right. Like what they're doing right now with the 2020 variants.
Exactly.
Games.
Or the Venom Island.
Right.
So how do you guys think about
It
stuff
can
like
seem
that?
really weird when there's nothing on the cover that has anything to do with the comic inside.
Yeah.
To me, that's maybe my OCD. I want all the comics.
Well,
to say,
speaking of that, let's show this. This is the perfect example. I have all
As a
these
Conan
variants.
collector, that would drive me crazy. That's Spider-Man. I'm like, Conan.
There you go.
Yeah,
Conan the Barbarian. Nothing on there is about Conan, right? Who's on the cover?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man and the Red
And the
Goblin.
Red Goblin.
What does that have to do with Conan?
Yeah, it looks like a cool cover, but
Yeah, very cool.
I have I have an Amazing Spider-Man with Dr. Doom on the cover, and he's not has nothing to do with the book.
I have that too.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm talking about as far as when it falls into, when I benefit from it, right? I love Dr. Doom. I'm going to buy something with Dr. Doom on it, right?
if someone else loves it, it's great.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
Or
no
like,
problem.
certain artists. I mean, if Clayton Crane comes out with the book, or, if Alex Ross comes out with the book, I'm more apt to buy it just because I love that artwork.
All right, I got a couple others to show. Show this one. This was the famous 80th anniversary wraparound covers.
Marvel 80th.
I actually enjoyed those. I thought
Yeah.
those were kind of cool because I remember those that came out 25 years ago or whatever it was.
Yes.
And they did that wraparound type thing.
85, I believe.
Now this is a different one, and I want to know your guys'. And this actually just happened again, just on Wednesday.
Mhm.
This is the secret variant. that comes out, and this one has the
Oh.
blood splatter on the Venom name. This is the variants that they don't even tell you about until they hit the shops.
Yeah.
A perfect
So the
example
comic
was,
shop owner doesn't know?
for the most part, a lot of them
A
don't.
lot of them don't. Yeah.
Just yesterday, yesterday, Doctor Strange came out brand new. There was a secret variant for that book.
Mhm.
It was very subtle. It was like he was holding something in his hand, and it was in the other hand. Very subtle. But the secret variants, and I don't know what the ratio of them are, but there always seems to be a little bit of hubbub over those secret variants, even though there's not really that big. I mean, literally, it's just a little blood splatter on the Venom name.
Right.
On that. Do you go after those when you hear about them?
I haven't yet. I mean, it's not been enough for me to generate any excitement over it, But again, if it was a Daredevil cover, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody has their niche, and I think that's what they're going
You
for.
really are that one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Just nonstop.
I'm a bit too. I'm a little bit with Marvel.
One trick ponies here.
There you go.
And there were the Immortal. Remember the Immortal variants?
Mhm.
There's been all kinds of really cool variants, and I really got sucked into that variant, hanging out with this guy.
You put it on me like it was my
Well,
fault.
because
I'm not holding your money.
No, that's true. But, yeah.
So I'm just going to give a shameless plug to your other show because we're going to be discussing coming up, our comic books too high a price. And, when you have a bunch of variants that are coming out,
Yeah.
that makes it even more difficult to buy all the comics that you want to buy because there's just more out there,
Yeah.
And I'm on a budget, so.
Well, that's my other worry about variants. If it perhaps, I don't want to use the word sucker too large, but if it sucks in some inexperienced collectors into thinking they're making a wise investment when they often are not making a good investment,
Very
right?
much
If you
so.
love the cover, buy it for what it's worth to you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because there's no way of knowing if it will go up or down in value.
And
And often it goes down.
And historically, and I've talked about this with Bob, mainly it's the A cover that sees the spike in value as far as there's anything significant about the book. It doesn't necessarily translate to the variant of that book. It always seems like if there's a first appearance, the character, it always seems to be the regular cover you see the most value from, as opposed to a ratio variant for the same book. But that's our thoughts on variants. And unless anyone else wants to add
I
something.
just wanted to say that there's a couple of comments from the chat that came up.
Okay.
Perry kind of echoed the same thing that we just said, that they hurt his wallet.
Yep.
You got Paulo, who says, if theme variants have nothing to do with the interior of the comic, it's fraud.
There you go.
False
And-
advertising.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see, Comics Club says anniversary borders are cool. And so we do have a few people inside of chat that are chiming in on this. Doctor Strange secret variant was a 1 in 100. That came from, let's see, it's a Robbie Pop Culture.
No, 1 in
Philosopher.
10. He said
1 in 10. 1 in 10.
He doesn't have his eyes.
I don't have
He
my
doesn't have
eyes.
his eyes
You know,
like that.
I was hoping Sam would be doing this, but.
Hey, actually, let me jump in here real
All
quick.
right, all right.
So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's in the chat. We got 56 people watching right now. Thank you so much. Perry gave another super chat. He said, I tend to pre-order my variant books. That's a very good decision to do. That way you know what you're getting type thing. And it takes out the hunting aspect for it as well. But
Absolutely.
Perry, thank you so much. The super chat does help out the show. It does help keep the lights on. I'll just be totally honest. This is this YouTube channel is what pays for all my bills. So Perry, thank you so much, my friend. You're helping me out quite a bit. But I just want to take a minute just to kind of look in the chat because there's a bunch of people in here and I'm gonna miss some. Matt Dotsko, hello. Ben Compton, hello. 1-2 Comic Top, hello. Milvet Comics, hello. Robert Galvin, hello. Perry, hello. Let's see. Daniel Woodhouse, hello. Pop Culture Philosophers, Robbie, hello. Thank you so much.
Robbie.
Biggie Shack is in the house.
Biggie.
The Comic Club is in the house as well. That's the comic shop owner. Paulo Costa is in the house. I probably pronounced that wrong. I know I do. The Venomized Beard. One of our we read his comment last week. It's an
Absolutely.
awesome name. He's in the house. Let's see. CG Raven B. Hello, hello. Iron Galactus. Hello. Man, there's a lot of people in here. It's almost hard. Steve Whiting is in here. Two 2 gun patrons in the house. There you go. Just kind of scrolling up here. Rob, I think I got Rob, didn't I? Dr. Cactus, hello. Kenji-san, hello. Man, just trying. It's Hero Time, hello. Punished Comics, hello. If I missed anyone, Connie's here. Connie, hello. Appreciate you stopping in here. David Richard, hello. So many people. It's hard to keep track, but we're doing our best.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
That's right. And also, I want to let everyone know, all these gentlemen's channels are right down below in the description. So if you want to check out Sam or Damien or Bob, please do so. Their links are down below. Check them out. They're all do great content. You can find us on the channels. Like I'm on Bob's, I'm on Sam's. I'm hoping to be on Sleepy Readers here.
Been on mine.
And now we're all on each other's channels. So there you go. So it's a lot of fun. But let's jump to the next topic. And
Sure.
The next topic is always a nice one. Everyone loves talking about speculation and comic books. And, this kind of ties into something you want to talk about, movies and TV, and we can kind of get to that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But let's start off with the speculation and what movies and TV do to comic books as far as the speculation market. Because that kind of seems, it's really affecting it. Whether you like it or not, that's what the speculation bubble, if you want to call it a bubble, it really has to do a lot with, hey man, I heard that this character is going to be in the movie, or hey man, I heard this comic just got an option type thing. You better go pick it up. What is your initial thought? We'll start with Bob on the movies and TV, the Hollywood aspect of comic book speculation.
I think it's good and bad. I think I'll get to my bad first. So instead of having a big bubble like we did in the 90s, I think we have many bubbles that happened. You have inflated prices that come up because of a character or a book that's being announced, and the price goes way up on those books. Everybody goes out and buys. And then in a year, you see them all completely deflate. And so that aspect of it, I don't like. What I do like about it is that it does cause a lot of business in the comic community and buzz. And so you got people that are going into comic shops and, diving into those dollar bins, using the Key Collector app or whatever it is that you're using and finding those key comics. And I think that's good for the comic shops. And for Comic Cons like the Frankenstein swap meet that we go to. So on that aspect of it, I think it's good. Anything that helps promote.
I don't agree with you.
You don't?
I don't agree with you.
Okay.
I've actually talked to you about this before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that. Well, let me put this this way. I don't think that the movies or TV drive new people to comic shops.
No, not new people.
Okay.
Yeah, not new people. I'm talking about people who are collectors.
Okay.
You have a book like Eternals that's sitting inside of a box in the dollar bin for years. All of a sudden they announce it, and look at how the prices have spiked on those books. Yeah. And you don't find too many of them in the dollar bins now, right? Yeah. I think that's good for comic shops. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good for the shops.
For sure.
It's not good for me.
No. But the craze that it drives for people, I do think that it does hurt some people. You go out and you buy these comics because they're spiking, and some people buy them when they're at their peak, and then they end up losing money in a year. And I don't think that's a good thing.
I'm curious to know from you guys. Can you think of any title, as far as movie wise or TV show wise, that was a speculation book that has held its value or gone up since the initial, surge on the book?
That was just strictly for movies.
Yeah. It was strictly driven because of Hollywood. Is there any comic you can think of that's like, oh, because of this character, it's gone way up in value, and it's still going up in value a year later type thing?
The only one that I can think of is Harley Quinn. Because Harley Quinn didn't start in the comics. Harley Quinn started on the Batman animated series, and her books have held their value.
Yeah.
Even when they announced Suicide Squad and all these other properties going.
Yeah, but I don't think the Suicide Squad really bumped up that book. It's always been a money book.
Well, you talking about the actual Suicide Squad book?
I'm talking about the movie, the Suicide Squad movie that came out with Harley Quinn in it.
Right.
I don't think that bumped up the comic itself. I thought the comic was already up there. But I'm talking about a book to where this is a nothing book before they say this movie is coming out.
Mhm.
It's a dollar bin book.
Right.
The movie comes out, or you hear it's a villain, like the Iron Man, the Ghost villain. Okay,
Mhm.
you hear, oh, I got to read this book. Not an established character, because Harley Quinn's an established character.
Mhm.
I'm talking about. I wasn't familiar with this character. They're going to be in this thing. I got to go get it. As any of those you know of have held their value a year later?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just gonna put I don't know for sure,
Yeah.
but I would venture to say that I think some of the Iron Man books that were sold have held their value.
Yeah.
Only because of what's happened in the MCU, and but then again, you've had that character in multiple movies over 10 years.
Yeah.
That's different than it spiking just because of a movie being
Yeah.
announced or coming out, and then the sustaining I think has been part of the movie process.
I would say Thanos is the one.
Thanos and Iron Man are now kind of permanently on the map,
Yeah.
where they were
Yeah.
more underground before.
Sure. And I mean, I'll be honest. I think what the movies did for Cap has been incredible as well. I mean, I don't think a lot of people were into Cap. What Chris Evans did with him made him a character that he became beloved.
Sure.
And
Did that bounce up some of the early Marvel Cap?
I'm not sure because I've never really
I
collected
mean,
Cap too much.
those are already skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Right, so some of them are already high up.
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
I was going to mention the first Vision. First,
That's true.
Yeah, Avengers number
Has
57.
Scarlet Witch, maybe.
Yeah.
Those may have stayed up. It's hard to know.
Yeah.
There are people out there who really watch these prices, but I don't think we're those high-end collectors who are.
Let me jump in the chat because we got a bunch of people that have give us some super chats and stuff like that. So I want to recognize them. Ben Compton, he said, "You guys are the best." Hey, we're the
thanks a lot.
best. Thank you, Ben Compton. $5 super chat, helping keep the lights on. I appreciate that. Perry did another super chat. He did a little like emoji thing. I don't know what that is, but it's a little animated thing. That's kind of cool. Our good friend Comic Book G Spot Robert Galvin, $10 super chat. This is the way. That's where that's from. Awesome show for the lights and some more coffee. Thank you so much, Robert. Appreciate that. He actually sent us a package. It's probably supposed to show up today. And then Steve Whiting, Dark Phoenix was bad. Heard the book. Oh, that's a good example.
Yeah.
So the Dark Phoenix. Let's just kind of go there right
Yeah,
now.
it was a bad movie. Knock a book down.
Yeah.
It's long term.
And not to mention the fact that they've done multiple movies on that character. I mean, the X-Men 3, the third installment of the movie, was the Dark Phoenix.
Right.
And then this new thing that came out was also the Dark Phoenix.
New thing. Absolutely.
So a negative effect from Hollywood. I never even thought about that. What's your guys' thoughts? Anybody?
I don't think it affects the price of that book. Dark Phoenix has always been one that has always sold well in the comic stores. I mean, that is probably one of the most beloved Marvel stories that are out there with Born Again and a few others. And I don't think the movie will ever hurt that book. I'll just be honest. I think the nostalgia of that book when it was coming out was like, you had to wait every month to see what was going to happen next. And that caused so much buzz back then, and it's never stopped. And so, but you're right. I mean, negative effect from the movies. I can't say how much of a bubble popped on that book because of the movies, and then to see maybe it went down a little bit. But I think there's a certain level of that book will always be hot. And so I'm not sure that it hurt too much.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd say Elektra. I don't think
That's a good
her
one.
first appearance.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
think it was affected too badly
Right.
those Daredevil movies.
Well, I mean, I remember when
Elektra.
the first parts of Elektra was spiking pretty good.
Yeah.
And then the prices did go back down. That one I do know.
Yeah.
And but again, first appearance of Elektra, Frank Miller book. It's always had kind of that key value to it.
Yeah.
But I do believe it did spike for a while and came back down to regular. It came back down to earth.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Damien, let me ask you: are you a speculator? We haven't really had this conversation.
I am not a speculator.
You're not a speculator.
I look at the price of a comic and say, is that worth it to me personally to keep? And I might sell it someday, but I don't actively think about that. So I often encounter speculation as a negative because I like to collect a run.
Okay.
And suddenly I'll hit one comic. Everything else is in the dollar bin, and that one is $50.
Yeah.
And it kind of bugs me.
Yeah.
But I guess I shouldn't complain because I got everything else so cheaply.
Sure.
I remember when I was a kid, to get a back issue, it would always cost more than a new issue, and that's changed.
Yeah, it's
So-
the opposite now.
Yeah.
That's why I have
For the
too
most
many boxes of comics in my closets, because they've been so cheap to collect a lot of runs I wanted.
So if you don't mind, let me ask you a question. I mean, do you have a dollar figure that you'd be willing to pay for a book to complete your run? I mean, there's sometimes it's like, I just can't see myself spending this type of money on one book. I have that problem.
Yeah.
I mean, literally $50 or more for a book, I, for the most part, won't do it type thing.
Yeah, I think usually $40 is about my limit, and there's been some exceptions, which I found painful, but then decided to do. Like Conan #1, I had to have
Very
that.
cool.
And in fact, I got one real cheap that was in bad condition, and then I upgraded on an auction from Jean Paul Ace Peter.
Oh, nice.
And that felt better because I was giving money to a friend rather than to a shop. But
Very cool.
Right.
So now,
so it's very rare for me to spend over $30, $40 on comics.
so not a speculator. Sam, I already know the answer.
I buy what I want. I don't let any speculation affect me. I like characters, and if I like the current book, I'll get the current book, and I don't really pay that much attention and let speculation affect.
You like to read it.
I like to read it.
You buy it to read it.
I buy it to read.
That's
Yeah.
it.
You speculate on the true believers. Then.
Oh well, those are so cheap. I can't pass them.
So myself, I don't.
Oh, hold on there.
Oh, okay.
Can you do it while you hold this book?
Yeah,
up?
absolutely. I'll tell you now.
This guy here.
So I'll own this.
Get a plan all along.
But I mean, this is a good example. Okay, I do speculate, but I'm not one that looks at the market or looks at what's happening and speculates on what books to buy. And usually it's because I don't have the time. I mean, I hold down 2 different jobs, and I try to keep this hobby on the side. And so I don't have time to do all the research. But I do. I am involved in a speculation group on Facebook, and I watch their buzz. And if I see a book that is coming out like this week, that is cover price like this one, then I'll get it then, right? But if it goes beyond cover price and it spikes up to $15 the next week, as you notice on Comix, the top 10 it'll show it. I won't touch that book at that point. And so this was one that he so graciously has pointed out.
You want to hold it up to the?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Marvel Comics presents #6. And this is the first appearance of Wolverine's daughter, his 12th daughter.
Tons of kids.
Right, exactly. But it's the 12th one, guys.
There you go.
That's
Yeah,
the one that's
yeah.
going to be the most popular.
Doesn't.
But written by Charles Soule, who I absolutely I love his writing, and I found out about it 2 days before it was coming out. And on New Comic Book Day, I called the shop, and Bueller just happened to be at the shop.
We
I
were
was
there.
calling.
We were there.
It's like, do you have this book? And I called around town so that I get 2 copies of it for cover price, and I was able to get it.
So I like what you
So
said
when
there.
do you flip it?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. I mean, I sold one of them on Bueller's auction that he had.
Oh, okay.
And so that was pretty cool. I actually coupled it with a couple of Wolverine books, and somebody, got a pretty good buy. The other one I still have in my collection. If it spikes, great. If not, I have a Charles Soule book.
Yeah.
And you only paid cover price. So you have it.
Exactly. But again, it's I'm not sitting there going, oh man, I hope this makes $1 million.
Yeah.
It'd be nice, it'd be cool.
Right.
But in the meantime, I did get a cool Charles Soule story, and who knows? So cover price only though.
I
would
like
think
that.
flipping books is a lot of
Yeah.
hard work to do it just right. You got to really be paying attention at all
Right.
times and time it well.
Yep.
And by the way,
so
this
I'm too lazy to flip books.
And by the way, I actually got 3 copies,
Uh-huh.
and the 3rd copy I actually gave to this guy.
Well, that's your payment for being on the show.
There you go. All right.
I like, speculation market's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I've said this before. I'm just not very good at it. It's, I've tried to make videos about speculation. I'm not really good at making those videos. There's people out there that do a very good job at it. And, a perfect example is Jim Comix. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jim Comix, but he does a lot of picks and speculation, and he's really good at it. Like, you can literally go and watch his videos and probably make some money by watching those videos and stuff. The interesting thing is he doesn't flip any books, but he'll buy multiple copies of the books. He's a comic fan, and he's really good at speculation as well. It's the best of both worlds.
Right.
So I really enjoy that. Me, on the other hand, I'm just not good at it.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that if you can buy a book for, like you said, cover price, and you willingly know, hey, I bought that book for cover price, I can sell it for 3 times that amount or 4 times that amount, and people are willing to pay for it.
Right.
That, to me, is kind of the treasure hunt aspect for comics. And that's kind of fun, because I can go into a comic shop like I did. You can show that one up there. I went into a comic shop this week, and that was sitting on the shelf. And I heard there was some buzz about it. And normally I find out later. I'm not very good at finding out before. I always find out later, then hopefully I get lucky. And apparently that's the first appearance of Miles Morales' sister.
Yeah. Right, that's right.
And it was sitting there, cover price on the shelf. I just bought it, and the guy at the comic shop, he goes, "Oh, this one's selling for $15." I go, "Yeah, I think it is." He kind of gave me a dirty look, and I, paid him, my $4, But and I'll take that book. And Sam mentioned to me when I bought that, he goes, "You've never bought a Miles Morales book before," and I haven't. I have no investment into that book as far as personal investment. It's purely just I'll buy it, I'll probably sell it for a few dollars, and maybe buy some comics that I enjoy. With that money. And that's kind of the way I look at it, right now. I'll buy some comics. If I know I can make some money on them, to probably buy some more comics, or like I said, keep the lights on. It'd be dumb of me not to. Because I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And for myself, this is an expensive hobby. And, I don't have the budget to buy every book that's on the market all the time. And so every once in a while, I do flip books, to make a little money that goes back into the hobby.
Right. And there are some people who are really skilled and flip a lot of books and pay their whole hobby with it.
Yeah.
And that would be ideal if you have the savvy to do that.
Absolutely.
I have another theory in general about the value of comics going up and why we like it. That here we are, we started out as kids and everyone looked down on us for reading comics. And then they go, "Oh, those comics are worth money." And suddenly that elevates other people's view of comic books. And so it kind of makes us feel a little more important about our comic books, that they can go up and down. Like my dad never appreciated comics till he heard about, Batman 20 or Detective 27 selling for a huge amount of money.
Yeah, I just got to the point where I was like, "That's your problem, pal. I'm reading." Just really quick, there was somebody in the chat, I can't think of his name. You had mentioned that you still had Daredevil books to send me. I really appreciate that. If you can go back into the comment that you originally made and send me your email address, I was looking for that, and then I can send you my address. I really appreciate that, though. Thank you so much for being on that. I think it's Southern Comics, though, I think is who. Anyway, if you could just go back to that comment that you made and leave your email address, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
You got me?
I just didn't want to stop the dude, man.
Look on this guy's face, I'm like, "Oh."
I feel like I'm on the BS show now.
Okay, Bob, I need your help again.
Okay.
And this is an example I wanted to show this. Okay, we got 2 different books here, and both of these are considered spec books.
Okay.
And first one, I don't know which one you're showing first, is that one right there. That is the Batman. That is the death of Alfred. Okay. And so there's a little bit of spec if that might, they always die, and then the next book is an independent book, and Kill Whitey Donovan. And before this book came out, apparently it was optioned for a TV show or a movie or something like that. Okay? 2 different types of specs. One's based on Hollywood. One's based on a character dying in first appearance. If you're going to spec on something, I know you said you didn't spec, but if you did, which one would you feel better putting your money on? On if you had that option to buy a book. I'm curious to see what you have to say.
I guess, even though I'm pretty hardened to deaths of characters, I go for the death of Alfred because it's meaningful to the comic book itself rather than just tied into Hollywood, which can come and go like smoke.
Yeah. Sam, what about you?
It's not. I'm not a DC person.
Come on, Sam. This is the one show. Can you not point that out?
Okay. I'll go with the 10th millionth time that Alfred dies. I'll pick it up.
You pick that one?
Sure, why not? Cover his body up with Batman's cape and just get it over with.
Okay, let's go to Mr. Speculation here.
If it was Jarvis.
Yes, I would appreciate that
Okay.
more.
All right,
There you go.
Mr. Speculation, what would you do?
Mr. Speculation. All right, guys, it's gotten real thick in here. The show's everything speculation.
I would definitely go with the death of Alfred because when I was growing up collecting comics, it was those milestones, first appearances, yes, certain stories, and those I can always trust in, and that always used to drive the price on a comic book as being a significant, and the TV and movie specs. I think the buzz, like I said before, the buzz is great. I appreciate one aspect of it. But it's the death of Alfred is what I'd go for. How about you?
In book.
Yeah.
If it has to do something in the book, I'm more curious about something story driven that doesn't have anything to do with Hollywood. I want it to not have something to do with Hollywood.
Sure.
I feel much better investing in a brand new story or a brand new, or a death or a character or something like that. Something because of the book itself, not because of a movie that I have to go pay $11 to go see or something like that.
Right.
Now, I'm curious to see what you guys think as far as 2019. The speculation market kind of took off, and you kind of hear a lot about speculation. It's kind of the talk of the town. Do you think that in 2019 the speculation market has helped or has hurt our comic books that we collecting atmosphere that we're involved in?
That's a good question. That's a really good question, and I'm going to go out on a limb and just give my opinion. I don't think it's a good thing. Again, I like what it's done as far as stimulating buying, but I do think that people do get hurt in the long run of it, and that I don't like to see that.
Yeah. Sam, what do you got?
I'm not. I think speculation is good, and I'm just in it for the comic book story. I'm not for the whole movies and TV stuff.
You just got done watching like 8 episodes of The Mandalorian. What are you talking about?
He's not speculating.
He's like, I need to go buy some Star Wars books. How about you, Damien?
Well, I thought it was all bad until Bob mentioned that it can help the stores by driving up the prices of some comics. So I hadn't thought about that before because I do want stores to stay in business.
Sure.
Yeah.
So to the extent that it helps stores, that's great.
Yeah.
Some of the other aspects of it, I'm not crazy about.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a wash.
Yeah.
Right. I guess it depends on what type of collector you are. If you're an investment collector, then you have to speculate. And let's just face it, there are some stores who would not be in business unless we had speculation. Right.
I've said this before, and I fully believe this. You have to have speculation in comics for comic books to survive. You have to have every part of it. You have to have the reader who enjoys the story, who collects the runs. You have to have the guy that calls every comic shop looking for that book. You think it's going to be worth money. The industry isn't large enough to exist without having one of those present. So even though there might be some clash between the two, they both have to exist for the comic book industry to still be around. And I think that's the way it's been for quite a while.
Absolutely. I would agree with that.
But speculation on new comics may not be necessary. If you had speculation on old comics, that would be just as good for the shops.
Yeah.
And I don't know if speculation on new comics is so good for us readers.
I think you're right. I think that for new comics, as far as are you talking about trying to get the books that you want to read?
Right, like there's some comic, that everybody's decided is going to pop next week. So they've rushed out to the comic store and bought 20 copies. And there's no more left. And then many of them lose money off of that proposition.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit of truth to that. I see that. And of course, that was a big, huge case in the 90s when people were buying 20, 30, 40 copies of books. I mean, Bob kind of hit that, at one point we talked about just the price of the book now. It's just more, expensive. Before it was $1.99 or $1.75.
In the 90s, the print runs were at least large.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I'll come into my shop and the guy will say, well, that comic sold out in the first hour I opened it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so I possibly could hunt around town and find it, but I might not. There have been some cases where I've not found
Yeah. Speculation, always a fun topic. Everyone likes. I think this is great because we're getting different opinions
Sure.
about this thing, but we all enjoy comic books.
Right.
So, which is the key thing, and that's why we're all.
And we
all
all
here.
care about the future of the comics industry.
Sure.
Exactly.
Which is
Exactly.
great.
Let me jump into the chat real quick again, because I know there's some other people in here. And let's see. I'll scroll up a little bit. Let's see. Coffee Breath. Hello. Connie's in here still. Derek Magnus. Hello, my friend. Let's see. Cool and Collected. Hello. Bash. Hello. I'm trying to catch the people maybe I missed last time. Mitch. Hello. Let's see. Comic Books NYC. Hello. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Just scrolling up here. Milvet. I think I got Milvet. TK421. I don't think I had them. Did I? No. Hello. Pete Callan. There you go. And House to the End. I'm probably missing people. I'm sorry. It's going to happen. I'm not that great at this. Let me scroll down. Okay. Let's go ahead and move. Desi, hello. How are you? Kill a Frog. 1, 2, 4. Hello. You're supposed to keep track of this.
Okay.
So let's take a little break, as far as let's talk about movies and TV, because I know that Bob wanted to. And let's just talk about what we got to experience in 2019 as far as movies that was brought to the, for us to watch, and the TV shows that was brought to us to watch that we enjoyed. What were some of the key things that you really enjoyed? I know some of them, and I don't agree with you.
Okay.
But 2019, what were some of the big ones that you really enjoyed seeing on the big screen and the small screen?
So big screen, most definitely. Endgame was, absolute feat I just thought it was incredible. And you can shake your head all you want, but not many movies that made me laugh, cry. When Caps at Avengers Assemble, I jumped up out of my seat and screamed in the theater.
That was you?
That was me.
Oh, yeah.
And to have most of the world, going out and seeing this movie in droves because they kept up with it. Marvel, the movie company has done something I never thought possible, and that is they trained the American public for continuity, which I thought was amazing. And for them all to go see the end of that saga was just, to me, not only that, but me being, somebody who's been into comics all my life, and to see these characters on the big screen, I never thought I'd see this day. I never thought I'd see the day when, my aunt, right, knows the name of Thanos. What world do we live in that this is going on? And so the culmination of that just blew me away. So for the big screen, that was my one for this year. I've seen just about everything, but that's the one that really blew me away. And then on the small screen, I'd love to say Mandalorian, but The Boys came out this year, which was incredible. But I got to tell you, the most incredible thing I saw on the small screen, I think it sets the bar for what can be going forward, is HBO's Watchmen. So insanely well done and incredible. And I'll tell you right now, if you haven't seen it, you've got to see it. It is so groundbreaking. And I think it really redefines what can be done.
What's it called again?
A Watchman.
Watchmen.
That's right.
Is that a new thing?
No, it's not a new thing. It's not a new thing. And so, those two things. And then, of course, the CW crossover, Crisis on Infinite Earths. Whether you like those shows or not, what they did by taking all the old actors from all the iterations of movies and bring them all together in this huge 6-part crossover was absolutely incredible. Loved every minute. Seeing Burt Ward on the screen again on Earth 66. Yeah. Yes. Bring them all back. And so I think it was an incredible year when it came to the media, whether it helped the comic book industry or not. I really enjoyed seeing some of my favorite characters on screen, and also to see where they've taken some of this stuff. I think it's just absolutely incredible, and I'm on board. You got my money. You keep doing this, you got my money. You bring up that feeling inside of me of when I was a little kid in complete wonder, just absolutely loving it. Here's my money. Take it.
So let me ask you this. I want you to rank the 4 Avengers movies from your favorite to your least favorite.
I would say Infinity War was my favorite. I thought that was incredible. Then it would probably be Endgame, the original Avengers, and then Age of Ultron.
Okay. There's another movie I'm surprised you're not talking about because you even made a review about it. You were all emotional and stuff. You're not even going to bring that
You
one
talking
up.
about the Joker?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, Joker's not a feel-good movie. I mean, it
Well, this
emotionally.
isn't a feel-good show.
I mean, yes. I mean, it was a feat of filmmaking. I would call it a piece of art because, I mean, there's not very many movies that the next day I'm still thinking about it all day long, and the effect of it and the feeling that I got that was inside of it. So, Joaquin Phoenix, I can't think of the director's name who did it. Man, I mean, they did an incredible movie.
I think it was Clint Eastwood.
Was it Clint Eastwood?
Yeah.
Yes, there you go. The Mule, that's what it was called. The Joker Mule. But yeah, I mean, yes, incredible feat. But I mean, when it comes to an actual comic book movie,
Yeah.
Even though they used the Joker, they used Gotham as a background. Yes, Bruce Wayne is in there, and so is Thomas. I still would not consider that a quote unquote comic book movie.
Yeah.
By the end of it, Joaquin Phoenix, yes, I'll say he was the Joker. That you can't deny that. But I wouldn't call it an actual comic book movie. So there you go. You're shaking your head again.
Sam, what about you? What did you see this year that you really enjoyed, and maybe what you didn't enjoy?
I guess I gotta be honest. I didn't totally enjoy Captain Marvel. Endgame was amazing. Was an amazing.
Come on, Nipples.
Like-
You set her down there.
Yeah.
Why you should jump up there?
But Endgame was an amazing whole ending to the whole thing that Marvel's been doing the past, what is it, like 10 years or something like that. And Far From Home, Spider-Man, that was pretty good.
We got Mysterio.
Yeah, that was very
Come
on. I loved all that. And so yeah, it's been some pretty good one.
Any TV shows?
You know what? Somebody got me into the Flash, and now I'm getting sucked down that rabbit hole.
DC.
There you go.
There it is, Sam.
But I was even looking at some Flash comic books. And,
Aha.
I don't know what's going on.
2020.
10 years from now, this is going to be a Wonder Woman show.
Oh, wow. Superman, yeah.
You'll have
that's-
forgotten all about it.
Right.
So yeah.
Very cool. Damien, how about you?
I loved Captain Marvel, and I loved Endgame as part of the whole tapestry.
Yeah.
And just like Bob said, I mean, that they brought continuity in such a big way to the popular culture. And I think that's why we see all these crossovers on the CW kind of DC shows,
Sure.
is because of the success of Marvel.
Mhm.
And everyone wants to have their shared universe comic book world now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's an incredible achievement. And then another favorite thing of mine, I'm not sure when everything came out, but Teen Titans Go to the movies, and now there's a direct-to-video Teen Titans Meet the Teen Titans, which is the baby Teen Titans meet the sort of real teenage Teen Titans.
Yeah.
And I love watching those things with my daughter. I mean, her getting all those jokes about superheroes, it's such a bonding experience between the two of us. So, and she watches the DC Superhero Girls, which also connects her, even though they're different than the superheroes we're used to, but it connects her to the mythos of superheroes.
Yeah.
And so that's real exciting to me to see the next generation is getting their superheroes, through the mass media rather than comic books.
Yeah.
But it's still exciting to see that happen.
Absolutely.
And so that's a lot of fun for me. I do subscribe to DC Universe.
I was
the
going to
app,
ask that. I was curious
Which,
about any other shows.
which has been around just this year. So
Mhm.
it's kind of a 2019 thing. And I haven't gotten into the shows as much as other people have. They go for a real dark
Yeah.
vision of things. And, well, one, I can't share them with my daughter, even though it's Teen Titans. It's
This
like
is
this
true.
violent, brutal Teen Titans. But I need to go back and revisit those shows because I think I just started out being disappointed they were so grim and gritty. It does seem strange that DC is so worried about like the Batwang and stuff like that. But then on their own app, they have shows like I think the first episode of the Doom Patrol had this really graphic sex
Yeah.
scene, and it's just kind of this weird double think going on there.
Yeah.
And you would think the DC app is more for the family. Let's share this on our iPad.
Do you have that?
Yeah, I do. And I would say the way I would rank those, because I've watched both seasons of Titans. I'm a huge Teen Titans fan, so I'm gonna watch it.
So they had Titans, they had Doom Patrol, and Swamp Thing.
Right.
And as far as live action,
And now they
live
have a Harley Quinn
Animated
animated show, which I haven't tried
I
yet.
haven't tried that
But
yet.
I've heard there's tons of cursing in it.
Oh, really?
So, it's always hard to say at what point do I draw the line for my daughter, who's 11.
Right, and for me, I mean, I don't mind the rated R stuff, but when it's there for just to be there because they're trying to be relevant to a certain crowd, I think it cuts off a lot of people. And I'm sorry, I want my heroes. I don't want to see a bunch of punk kids who have no moral values.
Right.
I mean, because that's the way it felt. It really did. I did enjoy the costuming. I did enjoy the action. The writing is kind of trite in some areas. It could be better. I thought Swamp Thing was a feat. It was really incredible.
That's the best one.
It was really well done. Doom Patrol, because of the way they were, throwing that stuff in there, it just didn't grab me the way it did some people. I trying to push through because I hear it gets really good at the end.
Yeah.
But really, I think that what they've done, just like you're saying, it's kind of made it kind of this double-edged sword that I'm not sure I'm on board with. I don't know.
Yeah, I felt like if I watched this at a different time, I'm just at a time in my life where I'm looking for things to watch with my daughter. So it just kind of was like a party pooper there.
Yeah.
Well, I liked, even though it came out at the tail end of 2018, the Spider-Man animated movie.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that.
Right.
It came out Christmas last year.
Yeah.
So that one was one of my favorites. I thought Endgame was a good movie, although it lacked some of the stuff I was looking for. I was looking for a Hulk battle between Thanos.
Yeah.
We never got that. And that's one of the things that was missing. And really, you don't even see Hulk battle anybody in the whole movie type thing. And I thought their use of characters was not as great as what it was in Infinity Wars. That kind of bugged me because at the very end you had the big battle, but literally Doctor Strange spent that battle holding up a wall of water.
Right.
And I was like, that's I would like to see more of him type thing. So there were some things in Endgame that I thought were missing that I wanted to pay off. I really wanted the payoff of another Hulk Thanos battle. Okay, that's the big thing, and we got nothing even close to that.
Right.
I don't even know if they saw each other. So that bothered me a little bit. And there were some other things in Endgame as I've gone back and watched it. And, I don't like that either. That doesn't make sense type thing. I actually put that as my third favorite on my top 4. That's why I asked you. My first one is Infinity War. I think that's a masterpiece.
Absolutely.
Was that 2019?
2008. Yeah.
Your list of the Avengers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I would agree.
Yeah, top one is Infinity War. The second one is the original Avengers, just because of the simple factor you get the Avengers.
Oh my gosh! I remember.
Yeah, the pan. They did that pan around the whole team.
Cheers.
On that one. So I was like, there they are. That's the people I read in the 80s and 70s, whatever. So that's my second. And Endgame is third. And unfortunately, Age of Ultron is fourth.
Right.
So I enjoyed that. Did not enjoy Joker. Joker did not do it for me. I took a little bit of flack for when I shared my opinion on Joker. It just, to me, it kind of made me think as though they really made the Joker character kind of weak and not. I say this, and I still think this today. I see that Joker in that movie. Just imagine one day that version of Joker going up against Batman, the world's greatest detective. That doesn't look like that will happen. This guy does not look like he will possess the capacity to ever be the yin to the yang of Bruce Wayne. And in other movies and other versions of Joker, The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger's Joker, he's one step ahead of him.
Oh, that was quintessential.
And I don't see this Joker. They already said they're making a sequel. They said they weren't going to, but now they said they're going to.
Money.
So where they take it from there, they'll probably build that, and because they have to build that character up to be just as good or as evil a Batman type thing. Right. So in that movie, I didn't see it. I just saw a guy struggling, mental health issues, turning to violence, and just if you really wanted to go get him, you'd literally just go to his house and knock on the door, and he answers the door, and you got him. Type thing. So I didn't enjoy that movie as much as I wanted to.
Sure.
I thought the acting was great.
Yeah.
The acting was fantastic. But to have the Joker is literally the name of the movie. It's just Joker.
Right.
Type thing. That's a big title to put on there. And it's almost like they put themselves in a hole because Joker is so iconic, and there's so much history involved in Joker. He's Batman's #1 villain for 50 years type thing.
Right.
There's many different versions of him, but they've all been like right there. I mean, he's in the game every time you see him. In this one, I just didn't see him in the game. If he did come up against a Batman type character.
Sure. Which is why I don't think it's a comic book movie.
Yeah.
He's a hard character to get a handle on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as far as TV goes, I watch a few of the CW shows. I enjoy those, the crossover events.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't checked out DC streaming service. I want to. I think as they build more content. The new Disney Plus, them putting on the Mandalorian, even though it's not necessarily a comic book thing. They don't have that character in comics, I don't think.
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, Baby Yoda is going to be on the cover of everything. But I think we're coming into a time where you said The Boys and The Watchmen and more of a darker edge story being told on networks that can tell it. You cannot tell The Boys story, or you cannot tell the Watchmen story on ABC.
No,
you cannot tell that story on Disney Plus.
Right. But
you can on these, and that's pretty cool because we're getting to see some amazing things. I was familiar with Watchmen. I was just joking. But I wasn't familiar with The Boys at all. And then I watched the show from start to finish, and man, that was awesome. I want to go buy that book.
Yeah.
I want to know what they're talking about because this show was amazing.
Absolutely.
And so I went out and found some, and I'm going to try to get most of them because this is the instance where a show has influenced me to go find out more about the comic itself.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Another one I didn't mention that I can't remember if it came out last year or this year, but on Netflix, Umbrella Academy.
Yes, somebody said that in there. I think Rory,
that's really good. Really well done. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, there's just this great content coming out of stuff in movies and TV.
We're very lucky.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
We're living. For us, it's an awesome time. It's great to be alive, man.
Yeah,
How long can this trend go on? Can it go on forever, or are 10 years from now will this be kind of?
How long did the Westerns trend go on for?
That's true. Probably 30, 40 years.
Right?
My personal feeling is there is so much story to resource from.
That's true.
That it can, as long as the story good, it'll go on for as long as they want to.
Right. Well, with a lot of these independent titles that are getting optioned, I would say most of the public has no idea that some of these movies that are coming out are actually comic book content.
That's also
Yeah.
You had a 10-year build-up to Infinity Wars.
Right.
What's the build-up to Secret Wars? What's the build-up to something like that?
Right.
What's the build-up to some of these other huge storylines that they could possibly do? And not to mention the fact, and we didn't say this, Disney and Marvel now own almost every single property in their portfolio as far as character-wise. I think there's one or two stragglers out there. I might be wrong. They might have got them.
No, the Hulk, they don't own Hulk. They don't own Spider-Man. I think those are the big two.
Yeah, but they can still work with them. They can still have them
yeah.
in the movies. But, now they have Fantastic Four. They have the Fox lineup. They have, the X-Men all being available to, I want to see the Captain America Wolverine fight.
Oh, come on.
Who doesn't want to see that?
Right.
I think it's going to last forever. Let's just be honest. There's so many stories. We literally just went through, 10, 20 years of Marvel stories in movie theater, or in the movies, with only half the cast on one brand.
Right.
Now we have one brand has the whole cast.
Absolutely.
Now what can they do?
And, if you look at the biggest money makers in the industry in the last 5 years, year over year, it's been comic book properties, right? That says something pretty amazing. It does. So
Very cool.
I can't see where they go next, man.
Very cool. Anything else about Hollywood you guys want to talk about?
I just hope they don't mess it up.
I think in the long run it will bring people to comic books.
Think so?
when I was a kid, I saw the Batman show, Adam West, and I saw those Marvel animated shows, and that's how I knew those characters existed.
Yeah.
And then I stumbled across the comic book rack and said, "Oh, I know those people."
Yeah.
And I think that's got to eventually trickle down.
Yeah.
I think it trickles down a little bit. I see people coming into my shop sometimes asking the comic store owner, "Oh, I want to get the Avengers now." The problem is the right product out there, I guess, for when people.
I think the right product for those people coming in are trades.
Right.
I think trades are easier to sell to someone coming in. Oh, my son watched the Avengers movie, and do you have a book in mind or whatever? First thing, a lot of times they'll go for a T-shirt or something like that. But a trade, if you can put a trade in the hand, say, hey, here's a whole story from start to finish, and your kid can read this, or whoever, your daughter, your son, and they'll have a whole different experience than what they just had.
Absolutely.
And I think trade sales do go up when movies come out.
I think that's a good reflection.
I feel I have to pinch myself every now and then, because if you look back from when we were kids to now, Hollywood is just going crazy business. They want to get these stories out.
Well, we're all old enough.
We grew up with.
Yeah, we're all old enough. We sat through some pretty terrible stuff to get here.
Yeah.
Dolph Lundgren will always be my Punisher. I want to take a little side note, let everyone know. Today's Sam's birthday, everybody.
Yay!
Today's Sam's birthday.
Here's your present.
Always with the jokes.
Anything else about Hollywood, guys? No? Okay. I think we should move on to 2019, the stories and the books that we enjoyed this year. And we're going to start off with, and I think this is one of the best, if not the best year for independent publishers that I can remember in a long time.
I would agree.
My history is not too extensive as far as my collecting for this time period, I think, because I was out of the game. But the more I hear from people and the more I read these books, independent books are just, that's where to go. I mean, you're getting the stories that are the writers and the artists are very passionate about. They're taking their time to develop a new universe, and I think it's paying off. I mean, there's countless publishers that are putting on great stuff from the very first of the year to right now. Literally just last week, there was some great titles that came out. You just read one today from IDW that came out yesterday, another new independent title. What is your guys' initial thoughts on independent titles? We're going to start with Sam.
Oh, okay.
Because I know how much he loves independent titles.
You know what? I only read one independent title, but it's not. I mean, it's not for my lack of wanting to read the independent titles. It's just financially, I'm kind of got a thing there for Marvel, but Something is Killing the Children got me. I got hooked into that, and but I mean, there is a lot of great stuff out there. I mean, for everybody. I mean, independence has a lot of stuff.
What do you like about Something That's Killing the Children?
One thing I like, I mean, it's great writing, and it's great storyline so far. I mean, it's awesome.
You got a super chat from Happy Birthday, Sam, from Bruce.
Oh,
Bruce.
Okay. I don't know what's going on.
You can keep running this scam all year long.
Every day I say it's his birthday.
I know.
Actually, your birthday is coming up. Though.
It's coming up.
Like a few days away.
And people are going to be like, it's not his birthday.
So I remember you actually got to meet the writer or something.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
Because you started, I remember we went to the Rose City Comic Con, and you were hyping up this book, and I'm like, I've heard this so many times, and then got to meet the guy, and sound like a genuinely.
Let's say his name, because he's about to become kind of the top dog.
The Batman writer.
And he seemed like a great guy, had some really great ideas, and he was excited for this book, and it got me excited, and I'm glad I'm here for the ride.
Now, this kind of brings me to a topic about this John, James Tynion, who's now going to do Batman. He started, the next issue is his, correct?
Right.
Yes. When we met him, we asked him about a few of his books, okay?
Yeah.
And then we asked him about something that's killing the children, and he lit up.
Yes, he did.
He was like, "Oh, I'm so excited to talk about that book. That is his book. That is his concept. It's not like a character he's writing for. It's been around for 50 years. It's his original thought and concept." And you see that in these independent books. You see that passion behind these titles all the time. And it's showing, and it's so good. And every independent title I read, I'm not just blowing smoke. I can't remember the last one I read. I was like, I didn't like it. But they've all been good.
Yeah.
But Sam only doesn't want one. He's got room for one. That's it. Damien, how about you? Are you an independent reader?
Yeah, I would say maybe 40% of my pickups are independent, and I definitely kind of chase the independents, looking for the new exciting thing for me. And I think what you're talking about is those are the when they're creator owned.
Yes.
People are committed to them, and they either pick their own artist or they already are friends with the artist and they've collaborated and created it, so they all have ownership and investment in that comic. So it's interesting that you kind of are viewing this as a kind of golden age of independent comics.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear what
and I sort of saw that start around 2012, 2013, where I think you were out of comics.
Yes.
And at that time, it was mostly Image.
Yeah.
The fire that was set by The Walking Dead and then exploded with Saga, and then all the best writers started writing for Image, and all this great stuff started coming out. And now I feel like we're in stage 2 of that golden age, where all these other independent publishers are grabbing a piece of that independent pie. And so there's a lot, it's hard to keep track of it all.
Yeah.
But like just this year, I've noticed a lot of great stuff from Vault Comics and Ahoy Comics, and you guys talk about Boom a lot. Boom kind of goes up and down. They have good times, bad times, and they're going through a real good time now. So like I have a list of my top comics, and there's a lot of indies in there. Ice Cream Man
there you go.
is my total favorite comic from Image, and it's this bizarre horror anthology that has a thread running through it of this sadistic creature, probably from another universe, who disguises himself as an ice cream man. And it's a nearly indescribable book, and it's different every issue. It's just
they just started a new storyline, didn't they, not too long ago?
Kind of. I mean, it's always, each issue is its own story.
Okay.
But then there's like a little arc that's very subtle going through it.
Sure.
And then a longtime indie comic just went into color, and I'm so shallow I didn't read it when it was in black and white, but Usagi Yojimbo, which is from IDW, and now that I'm reading it, it's incredible. It's one of my favorite comics. And I don't know how to describe it, but it's like Conan in feudal Japan, but he's also a bunny rabbit, and he's all about his honor, more than Conan and stuff. And I kind of relate to that somehow. His attempt to live an honorable life. Immortal. Oh no, that's independent. Not independent. Criminal, also from Image, is an incredible comic by Ed Brubaker, and they have been kind of Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, his
Criminal.
His collaborators have been kind of a backbone of independent comics throughout the decade, I would say. Another really great one is Die, which is
Karen Gillan.
Right there.
And Stephanie Hans with this amazing painted artwork.
I haven't jumped into the series, but I've heard so much good stuff about it. I have a couple of issues. I just haven't read it yet.
It's pretty awesome.
Little Bird, I don't know if you've encountered that. That has it was just 6 issues. It had amazing artwork this year. What else have I got here? Kaiju Max, which is this crazy prison comic book. Only the prisoners are all kaiju, giant monsters.
Really?
Who puts that one?
That was not even on my radar.
It's from Oni, and it's this bleak black comedy about kaiju in prison.
What?
And it's really hard to describe, but it's really good. They do that in seasons, and they're on season 4 now, I think, or maybe season 5.
That's what I love about Damien. I always find stuff that I wouldn't normally pick up, and I mean, just your description of that, I'm like, I want to read this.
Well, I came back to comics. I mean, I never completely went away, but I came back to them in a big way around 2011. And since then, and when Saga came out, since then I've been like hunting for interesting independent books. So I just keep at that. Then Middle West. I don't know if anyone's reading that, but that's really cool. written by Scotty
Yep.
Young, and
West.
really great art by an artist whose name I never forget. But yeah, those are some of my top ones.
Yeah.
But it's a really exciting time, and there's lots of great stuff from Aftershock and Vault, like I said. But most of my top ones are still from him.
Very cool. Well, that's awesome because I didn't know about that Oni one. Oni is a local publisher here in Portland. We're very lucky to have Dark Horse, Image, Oni, to name a few.
Yeah.
And
Oni's kind of the lower profile of the local.
Yeah. You drive right by that building, you would know what it is. You'll definitely know it's Dark Horse when you go down to Milwaukee, but Oni Press, you wouldn't know what that is. So, but those are cool. I didn't know about the Kaiju one. That one sounds kind of interesting. And Oni
I have
does.
an extra trade if you're one.
That'd be cool. I would like that a lot. I have a bunch of independent comics right here. Some of my favorites. Go ahead, Bob. Tell me your favorites. What are your thoughts for 2019?
I mean, when it comes to independent comics, I'm just this year starting to get back into that area of comic books. Probably around 2000 to 2002, I had to sell my collection, and that really made me very bitter at the time. I needed money, had to do it. Family, women, the whole works.
Women,
yeah. And so I was out of comic books for a long time. Not that I stopped loving comic books, but once I lost my collection, I couldn't imagine paying money to build it back up again. And through this whole thing with the MCU, my love for comic books became impassioned again. I went to a Comic-Con and I couldn't help but going over to the long boxes, and I'm like, I'm home. So so I started to collect again, and I've really been enjoying it. And of course, I started with what I knew most, which was the superhero genre. And because of the fact that I don't have a lot of money, I can't spend more than $30-40 a week to get comics. I mostly concentrated on the superhero stuff.
Yeah.
And so because of the fact that I was hearing so much good stuff about independent books, this year I've started to dip my toe back into it, and I gotta tell you, I've been loving it. It's been so refreshing to see some of the stories that are coming out of these books. So I kind of started in the beginning of the year with Die is where I started it, and I mean I love Karen Gillan as a writer, anyway, and so Die was one of the first I started with, and I've kind of gone through a progression of stuff. Something Is Killing the Children has been really good. I really liked Olympia, that first issue of Olympia. I can't wait to see the next one. Undiscovered Country. I love that first issue. Second issue was kind of more filler, but I love the way that one was written. Then so the other stuff from Boom that has come out has been Once and Future. I've really enjoyed. And another one that I'll have to say didn't come out this year, but I've had so many people tell me over the years, even if you're not into comic books, you've got to read Saga. And I hate when somebody tells me you've got to read something. So I've stayed away from it purposely. And this year I actually picked up the first, omnibus book that collects the first 17 issues. And I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And, I got, but the first issue I was not crazy about. It could kind of started off in this weird area. But I got to about the 5th issue, and I got to tell you, now I can't stop reading it. I'm like halfway through the whole series. And so I guess I'm a Saga fan, guys. I think it's really
Luckily, they're taking a break. So
I know.
I'm
I can catch up. So it's really well written, is what it is, and that's the point about a lot of these independents that have come out. Is there are a lot of superhero comic books that you have these events that come, or people get hyped about a particular story, and the payoff just doesn't happen. I've been disappointed so many times, and in these independent books, I am so refreshed by the stuff that's coming out. It's made me excited to be collecting again. And so, I've been buying a lot more independents than I ever have.
Yeah. I like the fact that if you don't want to read a superhero book, most of them are not superhero books.
Right.
I mean, 95% of them, independent titles, are not superhero based.
Sure.
The Marvel and DC, they have that area covered type thing. So if you're looking for an alternate type experience, and an experience to where you can just step right in.
Right.
And you don't need to know all the stuff behind the scenes of what happened in issue 610 of Thor to know what's going on in this new series. You can just step right in, and it's a brand new original story. You know,
Right.
It's very refreshing. I have some of my favorites, if you don't mind showing
Sure.
these. Midnight Vista, #1. This is by Aftershock. This is one of my favorite series. #5 is coming out soon. That will be the last one of that run. The next one I like is Pandemica.
Mhm.
This is by IDW. Another one of my favorite books. They've only got 2 issues. They got the 3rd issue coming out, I believe, next week, if I'm not mistaken. Love that series. Dead End Kids. This was another 3-issue run that was pretty popular. That finished up a few months ago. I thought that was pretty good. Some of the ones I'm not caught up on, but I want to take some time, is Midnight Sky. That's Scout Comics. And then we have the plot. I think this is Vault, right?
It might be. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the plot. I think that's by Vault, if I'm not mistaken. They got some great titles this year. They had Maul. This is another one I really enjoyed. Goon. We got another Goon. That was pretty cool. And then the other ones, you kind of mentioned these. Now I want to take a little bit of time and talk about Boom Studios
Mhm.
because they released some really good books this year.
Yeah, Folklords was another one.
Yeah, and what I like about them is they start off the year, or towards the beginning of the year with some pretty strong titles, and they're finishing with some very strong titles.
Mhm.
So like Once and Future, very strong title. It's a lot of people's favorite book right now.
Mhm.
That's this one right there, and by Boom Studios.
Mhm.
So I haven't read this one, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. We
Wow.
talked about this one, Something is Killing the Children, another awesome title by Boom Studios. And then after that, these ones just came out like last month and this month. So last month we got Folklords #1, and we did a review on that one. We both really enjoyed that title.
Yes.
And then just this month, we've got Red Mother,
I really like this one as well.
another great title. I mean, you sandwich that in with the stuff that they're putting out, and then the licenses do they have to the Power Rangers, or to Buffy, or to Firefly, or even the WWE.
Mhm.
They're putting out these mainstream titles that have characters that you know and love, and then they have all these original books that are just killing it, week after week. Boom Studios, we've said this before, we kind of agree, and actually the audience agrees, is when we did a poll as far as who had the best year as far as publisher, Boom was right there. Boom
Yeah.
was like 2 percentage points behind DC for the second spot. And then the one behind them was Image, and they only had 4%.
Incredible.
Yeah. And
That was a great poll.
yeah, that was awesome. So there was those. I want to show some other
What's
publishers
amazing,
as well.
I have not read any of those indie comics.
Really?
Really?
And I read a ton of indie comics. It shows how many good indie comics there are.
I was telling
I'd
him
probably
last
like
week.
all of these. But
Yeah.
I just have too much to read already.
I was telling him last week. I go every month. When I get my books, I put them in a box, and at the end of the month, I kind of go through my books and I put them, where they go.
Mhm.
I did that this last month, and my indie pile was like 6 inches tall. My DC pile was like an inch tall, and my Marvel was like half that, like 3 inches tall. So I'm like, man, I bought a lot of independent titles, and that has never been the case. But in the last few months, it's switching, and I don't regret it one bit. There's some great stuff out there.
Absolutely.
Here's a couple other ones by Dark Horse.
I love Tommy Gun Wizards.
We got to give some local publishers some love,
Yeah.
Tommy Gun, that series actually ended,
Yeah.
and it ended. Also, they had to change the name because they didn't have the rights.
That was
to it.
weird.
Yeah, Triage is another one. I don't know if that one's still going on, but I read that first issue. I enjoyed that.
Who is Philadelphia by? Which publisher put that out?
Philadelphia is Image.
It's Image.
Yes.
Okay. Love that one too.
Speaking of that one, Olympia, the #2 comes out this Wednesday.
And that's Image too, right?
Yep, these are Image
Oh,
ones.
these are all Image.
Murder Falcon. That was a fun series this year. That gentleman just did the Wonder Woman book that we reviewed. Next up is Undiscovered Country. You talked about that one a little bit. That book, I liked it, but it was confusing. And I was like, man, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I didn't exactly know what was happening.
To me, it read like a movie.
Yes, it did. Love this series.
Oh, Dead Eyes.
Love Dead Eyes.
This is great too.
It's,
That's the one that originally was Dead Rabbit.
yeah,
Dead
Dead
Rabbit,
Rabbit
yeah.
was issue #1 and 2. They republished them under the Dead Eyes. #3 is a brand new original story. So Dead Eyes #3. This one
I
also
love this one.
great book. We reviewed this one, 20XX or 20, whatever you want to call it. Awesome title. This is in black. Did you read this one, Damien?
I bought it because of you guys, but I haven't read it
Okay,
yet.
it's in black and white. It's in black and white. And these are a couple titles that got more established this year. They came out before 2019, but Farmhand, that one along with Middle West, very established title. And then Oblivion Song has,
This is the next one I want to get into.
yeah, that's found a huge
That is
audience.
really good.
And that's, Kirkland is doing that one. He's doing Outcast as well, but that's his main title right
Yeah,
now.
because Outcast is wrapping up.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
But that leads me to something, also an image, because I wanted to talk about this one. And this happened this year.
Ha!
So I'm curious to see what you guys think about this. This is The Walking Dead. This is the TV show that nobody knew was a comic book. Let's just be honest. I mean, we did,
We did.
but the people watching the show,
Right.
for the most part, and there was millions of people watching the show, they didn't know it was a comic book.
No.
And all of a sudden, this, without warning, they stopped making the title.
Right.
Who does that? How does that happen?
Somebody who doesn't care about the fame that comes from a TV show, right? I mean, Kirkman, I don't think his motivation was ever, what people would normally think it would be.
Yeah.
I love that.
Did you read this book?
Only at the beginning. So
Okay.
I haven't read it in years. But
Do you mind if we spoil it? Oh, you probably heard.
no, go ahead and spoil it. Yeah, I think
Okay.
I heard anyway.
Okay. Well, Rick Grimes, the main character, obviously of
Yes,
the
I
book
heard
and the TV show, he is killed, and he is shot, and he turns into a zombie, and then Carl has to finish him off and kills him. That's his son. And all of a sudden, we're like, oh man, it's going to be a brand new series. They're going to go a different direction. They got new characters maybe, and then they do a fast forward jump years in the future, and that's this book, and then it's the last book. That's it. The story's over.
Done.
It's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's years in the future. Carl is a grown man. It's a new world. There's hardly any zombies. They're considered pets kind of type thing now. And we're done. We're done making this book. It's our number 1 or maybe number 2 selling book. And we're done. And we didn't give you any notice.
Right.
that it
And
was
that's
gonna
the
be
part
done.
that I love. They actually advertised for
Yes.
books beyond the last issue as if they were going to be making more. I love that.
Yes.
That is really.
They had 3
It
issues
really got
going.
Now I bet there's some comic book shops that are crying over that.
Oh, probably. I'm
Yeah.
sure. They probably ordered the other
For
ones.
sure. Yeah, for sure.
One guy, me and Sam, went over to this comic shop, and this was about a month before this came out,
Mhm.
and it was probably the issue before. And we said, "Oh, what do you think is going to happen?" And he's like, "I think it's over." He literally remember that. He's like, "I think it's over. I think Kirkman's ending it," type thing. Well, no, he's not. There's no way he's ending this. And we literally, this is before any news broke.
Right.
This is a month before the news broke.
Right.
Okay. And he's like, "Yep, I think it's over. I think he's done. It's not gonna. He's
If
done doing it."
if who you're talking about is who I think you're talking about.
It's not. You don't.
Okay.
but me and Sam were like, no, it's gonna keep going. And sure enough, a month later, it comes out. It might be the end, and then a week after that, it's the end,
It's the end.
type thing. And we're like, oh my god, and,
Yeah.
and he kind of saw it coming. He's read the series from the very beginning. He told me he kind of noticed it a while back, type thing.
Mhm.
And but there you go, it's done. The Walking Dead is done as far as the comic book. I don't know if they have any plans to maybe do a spin-off or something like that. They did release a what was it, Comic Shop Day version of
Yeah,
an online comic that was out years ago.
Mhm.
They released that came out like last month or maybe this month.
Right.
But that was something totally different.
Yeah. Then they released something that was outside of the main story as well.
That's what that is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Rick's brother.
Yeah.
But that highlights the difference between an indie comic and a Marvel or DC comic.
Yeah.
They ended it when the creators wanted to end it.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with economics or
Yeah.
corporate bottom line.
So no, January 1st, Walking Dead #1.
Right.
Doctor Strange #1.
If they do, I'll have to eat my notes.
So that was kind of a big event.
Yeah.
Okay, as far as
Yeah,
independent
that
titles.
was a major.
That was a major thing. There was another thing that was a big event for independent titles, and that would be this one. And we're all familiar with this.
Yes.
And this is Spawn 300.
Yeah.
It's now the record breaker as far as an independent title.
Mhm.
And, Spawn is maybe the exception to a lot of the independent titles as far as superhero,
Right.
because that's considered a superhero type
Right.
thing, or
Anti-hero.
Spawn and
anti-hero.
Savage Dragon are kind
There
of
you
two
go.
exceptions.
Yeah.
The ones that lasted out of the original indie explosion or
Yeah.
image explosion.
Yes, and well deserved. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been
Oh,
a
yeah.
great book, and you and I have said many times, Spawn covers are the best comic book covers that there are.
Absolutely.
As far as quality from number 1 all the way up to 300,
Consistency. Yeah.
consistent, great looking covers all the time.
Absolutely.
Kind of a big event. He was promoting it. It's now the has the most books for an independent title, and we've talked about this before. Do you really think Spawn is an independent title?
It's
a great
creator
book.
owned.
It is
It's creator
creator
owned. I
owned.
mean, if you want to look at it like that, but I mean, really, it's the mainstay of Image Comics. I wouldn't call it an independent title anymore.
Yeah. It's a big. I mean,
Well,
that's big time.
I would call it independent.
Yeah.
There you
One,
go.
it's creator owned. It spawned
Yeah.
Right.
this company that supports creator owned comics.
Sure.
And what's more independent than supporting the
That's true.
creators
That's
rather
true.
than it's not about this company is not about making money. It's about supporting comics and making great comics.
Right. But that's kind of the point.
And I admire, McFarlane and the rest for never selling out to some corporation.
Yeah.
Right. I think I made that point in our discussion that we had on that particular subject, is that it depends on your definition of what
Yes,
independent
definitely.
is, for sure.
I think another thing has to be pointed out: Spawn is still $2.99 cover price.
It must be the only one left.
It's. I mean, I think Savage Dragon might be.
No, I buy Savage Dragon.
Oh,
I
it
pay
is?
$4 for
Okay,
that.
so Spawn is still. I thought after 300 and 301 came out, because they were a little higher, they were $7.99 or $4.99 because they were thicker books.
Mm-hmm.
I thought for sure 302 or 303 is going to probably jump up to $3.99. It did not. It is still at $2.99.
Right.
And that has to be because of Tom McFarlane.
Yeah.
He has to be sitting
Yes,
there saying,
yeah.
I'm not going to raise the price of my book. I like it at $2.99. Thank you, Todd. Keep it going. Let's just be honest.
So kind of Todd McFarlane is kind of like the Costco of comic books, right?
There you go. So I like, and that's actually a subject we're going to talk about on our Monday video as far as our comics too expensive type thing.
Right.
That book right there, it's a main title. Let's just say it. Even though it's independent, it's a main title. It's been around. It's the record breaker. It's the most published book as far as independent, as far as consecutive run, 303 or whatever it is.
Mhm.
It's still $2.99.
Yeah.
Because of Tom McFarlane.
Right.
That's freaking awesome.
Absolutely.
More like that, please.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's an independent thing to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you work for a corporation, there's no way they would let you.
Yeah. Everybody in the chat, we're not ignoring you. I just want to say that right now. This is how we get when we get together. We talk comics for
It's hard
hours.
when there's 4 of us here.
So let's look at the chat. We have Chad from 90MF Comics. Hello, how are you? Stay Puff is
Stay
in
Puff,
here.
what's
If
up,
you
buddy?
see him, shout him out.
Yeah.
Help me out here.
Lady Fantastic.
Lady Fantastic is in
90
here.
MF Comics.
90MF Comics.
Pop culture philosopher.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
Robbie.
Robbie. Brian A. Gore Vidal is in here.
Hey, Gore.
That's awesome.
He's an old guy like me.
There you go.
Like with YouTubers. Patrick Wall.
I went on the Gem Mid channel with a bunch of other guys. I was the old guy. I was like, what's happening here?
Well, I don't know Gore's exact age, but he's been on YouTube a long time. He doesn't make YouTube videos anymore, but he used to a long time.
Perry says Money Shot. I know he liked that one. That was one of his favorite books.
Oh yeah.
So look at all these people in here. Okay. Let's see. Milestone issues. Hate it when bump a milestone issue to $7.99, $9.99. Yeah, that gets annoying sometimes.
Absolutely.
Especially when they do it for no reason.
Right. Oh yeah. Like what was it? Incoming this week to $10 book.
$10 book. Pass. It's a hard pass for me.
Yeah.
Even though there's only 4 new books, I still wouldn't buy it because it was $9.99.
Right.
I didn't get that, but it's in my box waiting for next week.
Is
Next
it?
week.
You're gonna pick it
I
up?
was like, no, I'm going to start out my new year with that book. I'm not going to end it with that book.
I hear you.
Yeah, I feel like those price jumps are like pull list sabotage.
Now,
If you have a pull list and you've said, "Oh, I'll buy all these comics,"
Right.
you're thinking they're all $4, and then suddenly
and
some are
annuals
5
are
or
only
6.
supposed to come out once a year, not every third issue. What is happening?
Right. It's crazy.
I don't know.
off of it.
So before we move on to DC, Sam's favorite topic,
Yeah.
or Independent Comics 2019, I just gotta say, like I said before, and I'm curious to see your response. In general, one of the best years I've seen. 2019 for independent titles.
Yeah.
I have a very small pool to go from, so it's not saying much. But what about you, 2019, as far as independent, just in general?
Yeah, I mean, in all the time I've been in the comic, there's a stretch there where I wasn't into it, but even during that time, I was still connected to the community. I never heard as much buzz as there is this year. And I mean, again, like I said, I think it's stellar. I mean, they're having a stellar year. Not just Boom, not just them. I mean, most of these independent companies are really doing a great job.
Yep. Sam, you buy one independent book a month. In general, how do you think independents are?
I think I can state a fairly good opinion here that I've been watching people doing reviews on some of these books, and they sound very, very cool. And I'm like, man, if I had more money for it, I would dive into that independent stuff. But it looks awesome. Some of the stuff.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Damien, you have a little larger pool as far as years to go for.
More publishers than ever,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are very good publishers. So it's hard to keep up with them. Like Sam's got to be careful if he starts going down that road. How much money will he spend? But yeah, so very exciting year. Like I said, for me, it's like phase 2 of the golden age. And I'm still stuck on a lot of these image books that I've been following a long time, and can only afford so many of the newer ones. But definitely exciting. Yeah.
Very cool. Well,
So I hope a lot of these people stay in print. The publishers stay in business, because I mean, I'm the oldest here, but some of you guys may remember the '80s, and there were I don't know, there were a lot of indie publishers then coming out, and they're all gone.
Yeah.
Pacific, Eclipse, and a bunch of others.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that doesn't happen this time.
Well, here's something going forward as a resolution for 2020, right? All of us have mentioned at some point or another that we can't afford all these books, right? And it's
I'm
like,
working on that.
I know you are. But I mean, if it's one of those things where it's like, it's not the monetary value of the book and it's the stories, we can do what we did when we were kids and trade them off with each other, guys.
Right.
I think we set up an account or whatnot to where we put all our digital copies into this one account. We all have access to it. We can read whatever we
Hey,
get.
that's not a bad idea.
That's not a bad idea.
Oh,
We're
that's
all
just
local.
Marvel ones that you get free digitally, right?
I don't know, some of the other ones.
See, there's
Some
some
of the
other
other
ones.
ones?
Yeah.
I have ways of seeing
Oh,
that.
God.
I have
I don't
ways.
I don't want to get into it.
Let's make sure the police are not watching.
Dark web action going on right here.
I don't want to go there.
Now we know what the Tangled Web really
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to DC. And some of us are bigger fans than others.
I'm telling you.
And first off, I want to start off with the DC events that we experienced this year and what our thoughts were. Real quick, I want to say hi to Dylan. I saw Dylan in the chat. Dylan, what's going on, my friend? Appreciate you stopping by. Myth Lab, music. Is that right? I think so. Hello, how are you? Hello. But we had some events.
Yeah.
And let's start off with this one right here. And I know this one started in 2018, but it only had the first couple of issues in 2018. And then it finished off the rest of them in 2019. And that's the Heroes in Crisis.
I actually read that first issue.
He did read it. He
I
read
actually
it.
picked it up.
There you go. So Heroes in Crisis was a 9-issue series. I know you're familiar with it, Bob. I know you read it. So grading this series, as far as what it is, I mean, if you had to give it a grade A, B, C, D, what would you give it and why?
So it's hard for me to really grade it because I think it's going to be part of a larger story that's coming up.
Okay.
But as I was reading it, it kind of turned the DC genre on its head by creating this murder mystery. I don't think that they really held you the whole time as far as this mystery goes. It kind of got in the middle of it. It kind of lulled. But by the end of it, spoilers if you haven't read it, sorry. But basically, you know, Wally West is responsible for the murder of a few of our heroes.
Yeah.
And so he becomes, he basically gets put into prison. Of course, we see that going forward. But I liked the way everything was turned on its head, and that you had, I mean, please forgive me if I rub somebody wrong here, right? But I mean, Alan Moore, the reason why he wrote The Watchmen, and you know, who's watching The Watchmen, who's watching the heroes, they're not all as good as you think they are. And here we are with a situation where you have a hero who's a murderer, right? And I love that kind of I forget the word for it, but I liked that they did this. It was kind of like shaking things up. But I'm more excited to see where they go with it. Some of the stuff that we've read inside of Flash Forward, I think they're setting Wally West up to do the same thing that Barry Allen did, which is to become actually the savior of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I really think that's what's going on.
I want to say real quick about this series, the Heroes in Crisis. These are all very affordable books. There's not really any keys in here as far as something like that. You can buy the current issues, you know, in the back issue log for, you know, cover price, if not less. Or if you want to just pick up the trade, it's available, not a problem. So you're not, if you're not familiar with it, it's very easy to pick up.
Yeah.
Sam, you read the first issue.
Yeah.
And you said enough of that DC stuff.
No, that's not true at all. You forget during the summer, you and I, we got on Robert Galvin's channel there, and we read the first 2 issues of Deceased.
Yeah.
And I actually enjoyed
That's not
those 2 issues.
We're not talking about that.
I know, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. But I just wanted to jump in.
Everybody's waiting with bated breath for you to come out of the DC closet.
But no, I mean, no, the first issue, it didn't suck me in to get more. So,
Yeah. And then you actually gave that book back to me.
I did.
You didn't even keep it. He's like, I don't want this. Give this out one of your Bueller boxes. I don't want it.
I'm the weird guy up on the hill in my Marvel.
So it didn't grab you.
No.
Is it because Superman's on the very front of the cover? I know you're not a fan.
Yeah, not so much a Superman person.
That's too bad. Well, we're going to skip your review because you didn't get past the first issue. Damien, did you read this series?
I was like Sam. I only read the first issue.
Really?
I'll give you my copy if you'd like.
No, I don't know.
I think right around the time it came out, I was getting sick of Tom King and his
Okay.
psychological point of view of things.
Yeah.
I feel like he's the writer of depression or something. I just didn't want to follow him down that road.
That's true.
It's a great point.
No, this
But I probably will read it someday. You know, it's easier to read these event comics after the fact
yes.
when you no longer are invested so much in the way they're possibly ruining characters or ruining the universe. Now,
this is interesting because I liked it. I enjoyed the series. Bob liked it. You guys didn't get past issue 1. It was like, I mean, he gave me his copy. You're willing to give up your copy. Both of us, I liked it. For one, and DC does this very well. They contain their events stories for the most part in that series.
That's true. I appreciate that.
Marvel tends to go the other way with their event books, and we'll get to that after DC. But I like just being able to read this 9-issue series.
Yeah. It
flowed very well. There were some funny things in here. There's literally the, I don't know if you remember, Bob, but Batman had some kryptonite in this thing. And he's like, no, I don't have kryptonite.
Right.
And then he has the lasso of truth around his neck or something. He's like, yeah, I got kryptonite. And Superman's like, really? Thanks a lot, But there was some comedic moments in that book, so I enjoyed it. Like I said, it came out, I think November was the first issue of 2018 is when that came out. So it finished up. It was a monthly book. It finished up for the most part in 2019. So that kind of started the year off as far as DC events. This book right here, Doomsday Clock, which debuted in 2017 as a 12-issue miniseries, finished up this month last week. I read it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read the other issues except for the first 3 when they were coming out monthly at that time. and then I lost interest, but I wanted to read number 12 just to see what the payoff is. Was the payoff worth a 3-year investment?
You tell me.
Did you read it?
I did not. I refused to.
I have to go back and read the whole thing.
Yeah.
It just, I was like, this took 3 years over the span of 3 years time. 2017, all of 2018, all of 2019 for this series to wrap. This is a 12-issue series that was originally supposed to be a monthly series.
And they barely got it out.
And they barely got it out under the wire before 2020. A lot of people enjoyed it. A lot of people like the book. It's much better. You need to read it as a trade. If you want to know the series, just skip the individual books. Go buy the trade when it's available. It lost me. I can't go that long with the series type thing with so many gaps. A 4-month gap between an issue type thing.
And with all the hype that they made about the fact that the Watchmen universe was getting folded into the DC universe, it was this kind of a breakout event. And so, I didn't want those two universes to be mixed, just to be honest. And but I got curious and started reading, the first couple of issues. I got to issue 5.
Yeah.
And then that's when I just put it down. I'm like, you can't do this to your readership base. And it just kept getting pushed out and pushed out.
Yeah, it wasn't consistent at all. It was like, literally, okay, every other month it's going to come out. Then it was like, nope, it's not going to make it this month. It's going to be in the month after. And then, like I said, a couple times, there was 4 months in between issues.
Yeah. So I put it down, and now I don't care what happens between Dr. Manhattan and Superman. You lost me, and I'm going to stay lost. I'm not going to read that one. Sorry, I just won't.
There wasn't much of a battle. I don't even think it really was a battle in this book. I read it. I went through it. It looks beautiful. The book is beautiful. Okay, artwork is great. Color palette's great. As far as the battle, which is what I thought, we're going to literally see Superman battle Dr. Manhattan. That wasn't what happened.
No.
Apparently they had a baby. There's a little Clark with a little thing on it. I don't know. Sam's all excited over here. Did you read it?
I only read the first issue.
Okay.
And I actually read it illegally. Because I was so against, like Bob, I was so against the idea of Watchmen coming into the DC universe. I didn't really want to support it with my dollars. But
Alan Moore probably thanks you for that.
I'm a huge Alan Moore fan, and I just, Now, I probably will break down someday and read it if people say that it really mattered.
Right.
And because I know that it's the initial purpose of it was to tie into that first issue of Rebirth that Jeff Johns wrote and kind of explain how the universe had been changed. So I am curious whether they did that. It got so dragged out. I think whatever its meaning to the DC universe kind of got lost.
Yeah.
So it seems like Jeff Johns is losing relevance because he can't keep up with the schedule on books.
Yeah.
Because his other book, Shazam, which I'm enjoying, hardly ever comes out either.
Yeah.
Right. And I keep forgetting about it, and suddenly it's in my phone.
I think Jeff Johns has gotten way too involved into the TV stuff that he's doing. And I think that's really taken away from his writing on the books. And I would venture to say that's probably one of the main reasons why this just delayed as much as it has.
I would assume so.
Yeah. So,
Well,
which may be great for the TV shows, but for the comic, he just maybe needs to stop doing comics till he has the time.
Yeah.
I do like well thought out stories. I don't like when books are twice a month. I think that they're rushed. Let's just be honest.
Usually,
they're and I've talked to creators. They feel the same way. Our artists feel the same way. Writers feel the same way. Yeah, we're gonna get this out. We're rushed to do it. Type thing. They much rather enjoy the once per month title to put out. But once every 3 or 4 months, that's a little excessive type thing. Let's move on to another couple other series that DC put out. This is The Batman Who Laughs. This was originally a 6-issue series, but they extended it to an additional 7th book, if I'm not mistaken. What a great character.
Yes.
As far as the book itself, really didn't do anything for me, but the character is really interesting.
Yeah.
Did you interview Sam? What do you think?
Okay. Hey, I actually do have an opinion about this character.
Right on.
I picked up here a while back, or a couple months ago, there was a Batman Day.
Mhm.
But there was a free comic with it had the that's exactly the one. The
There you
Batman Who Laughs. I read this thing,
Mhm.
and I'm like, this character blew me away. I loved it. I'm like, dang, because I was like, oh man, this seems like a silly thing that DC just kind of cooked together, but it actually was an interesting character. I'm like, whoa, DC has
Absolutely.
something here. This is cool.
I'm surprised that we got a response.
I told you. He's coming out of the closet
Yeah.
just slowly.
It was a free book though. It was a free
Baby
book.
steps.
But you still picked it up.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Daniel, how about you? Did you
I
catch any of the Batman Who Laughs?
I feel bad I didn't read that one either.
It's all right.
It's all right.
I mean, I plan to get it in trades, actually. I have the metal books in trade, so I'm just kind of following all that stuff in trade.
Sure.
It does seem cool. It's kind of like Scott Snyder's now carved out this weird Scott Snyderverse part of the DC universe.
Yeah.
It's just kind of bizarre.
Now, let's face it though, without Capullo creating the actual look of that character, I don't think we'd have something.
Oh, Capullo's very important.
Yeah, for sure. I actually really enjoyed that story.
Yeah.
I thought, it was kind of outrageous that, Joker's heart was going to be the, the crux of the whole thing. But I thought the artwork was great. I liked the story a lot. And as far as, a contained event miniseries, I thought really it was well done.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
And they're using that character more throughout the story, the villain storyline that's going on in DC, and that's kind of interesting because that story arc is literally on every single title.
Yeah.
And that's it's not only has expansions or spin-offs, it's literally on every title type thing. And then it has arcs and minis and one-shots that are going on as well.
Right. And this is the one thing about DC that I don't like is that when they find something that's good, they will pump out all these different iterations trying to capitalize on the same thing, which is why almost every villain has an O at the end of it in back into the 60s, right? But, same thing with Batman Who Laughs. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to see a Shazam Who Laughs. I don't want to see a Blue Beetle who laughs.
They're all laughing.
Right?
They're all having a good time.
Ridiculous. This is a great character, though.
All right. We're going to move on to my favorite event book of the year.
Oh, so well done. We got Deceased, folks.
Deceased. That's actually issue number 2.
Mm-hmm.
This was a 6-part series. They had some really great covers. Let me just cover the covers. We had the regular cover as far as the 3 that were available at the comic book shops.
Mm-hmm.
They had the regular cover, then they had the Matina variants, which are those,
Right.
Which is just the face cover of zombie versions of the heroes.
That Funky Cold.
Funky Cold Matina, that's right. And then the other cover was the horror movie cover, and it was a honoring famous horror movies like It and Friday the 13th and stuff like that.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street. And I liked all 3 of them,
Yeah.
to be honest. All 3 covers were really cool. They had a ton of other variants after that as well.
Absolutely.
But as far as Deceased goes, we're going to go to Sam, because Sam read the first 2 issues of this.
Woo! Yeah,
And I think he gave them back to me. I don't know.
No, well, they were yours. Originally.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay.
But I gotta say, when I heard, we're gonna be reading these first 2 issues of this series, I'm like, DC, what? Okay, but I actually got sucked into the story. I was like, all right, DC, bringing some heat here, and I gotta say, better than Marvel Zombies. From what
Whoa, calm down.
I gotta say, DC did a really good job on this. This is really awesome stuff.
And you only read the first 2 issues.
I'm thinking about really picking up the trade. So.
Nice.
Very cool.
I got the first issue, and I'm going to pick up the trade.
Okay.
I guess I'm not as good of a DC fan as I thought.
Wow.
I'm just kind of skipping all these events.
Look what we're learning here today.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
Like I said before, it was my favorite. It was my favorite event of the year. DC contained it in 6 issues plus 1 little tie-in standalone issue. It was like a summer blockbuster movie type event. There's no canon involved. It's its own separate thing. You don't have to know anything else. Heroes are dying left and right. They're turning into zombies. They're battling each other. it grabs you from the very beginning. Within the first few pages, you've already lost half the whole world.
Right.
Thing. And it's a virus that's transmitted through electronics or some sort of virus.
Right.
And it basically turns you into a somewhat functional evil zombie. Because Superman becomes a zombie, he didn't forget how to fly. He's still zipping around and killing people with Superman powers. So they're somewhat functionable characters.
Right.
Great concept.
Yeah.
Fun book to read. Looking forward to it every month when it came out. They actually have a one-shot, I think, coming out next year, kind of talking about the characters who made it or the evil versions who made it. But the basic, the final outcome, they abandoned Earth.
Yep.
They left it. They said there's nothing we can do. So the survivors took off Earth and they're gone. And that's it. So, I mean, what's better than that? The bad guy won.
Exactly.
This is an event book where the bad guy won. And he won from the very first issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty cool. I thought it was interesting. It was take my money type thing.
Yeah. No,
My favorite book. What about you, Bob?
It was very well done. And I have to say, you know, when they announced it, I was very, very resistant to it because, you know, I've watched how many times over the years that DC and Marvel have trolled each other. And I'm thinking, all right, they put out Marvel Zombies. This is DC doing the same thing. And so I was very resistant to it. And I got to, you know, but I did pick up the first issue because, you know, I'm trying, you know, most things. And the first issue grabbed me like you wouldn't believe. I was on board, and I enjoyed it throughout the whole series. It was just very, I loved it.
Excuse me. A couple other storylines. I want to show these real quick. The Flash, Year One storyline, Joshua Williamson. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with the Flash. Awesome storyline. Joshua Williamson has actually been on the Flash from the very beginning of this series. And is still doing it today.
Starting with issue 1 of this volume. Yeah.
He started up again Batman Superman. Joshua Williamson. He's doing that series right now. That actually is tying in with the whole Batman Who Laughs and stuff like that. You're getting all the different versions of the laughing people. But let's talk about this. And I'm curious to know if anyone who's read this one. This is the City of Bane storyline from Batman, from Tom King. That was literally, I don't know, I think it was 12-issue arc or whatnot.
No, a lot more than that.
And the first thing, show this one as well. These are different issues, by the way. But look at the covers on these two books. They're almost identical.
Right.
They're almost identical. They're not the same issue, but they're literally the same pose.
That's funny.
So Tom King is now no longer the writer of Batman. He's done. The last issue came out last week. He had a long arc of this City of Bane, and really this whole run that he's done is all basically one storyline from almost the very beginning. At least issue 50, The Wedding, which everyone was pretty disappointed about that.
At the time that issue came out, he then announced that it was a 100-issue storyline.
Yeah.
And so you had to be patient.
Yes. Well, it didn't make it to 100. It didn't make it to 100. This storyline was one of the most inconsistent storylines I have ever read in comics. From one issue to the next. I really liked it. I went on to the next issue. What is this? I do not want to see Batman and Catwoman hanging out at the beach for 2 issues in a row. He looks like he's got a porn stash, his Magnum PI thing on, for 2 issues. I'm like, Alfred just died in the issue before this. And now we get 2 issues of hanging out at the beach type thing. Mm-hmm. Did you read this series?
No, I dropped it at 50.
50 was it.
And I get great pleasure hearing people moan and groan that. No. And I feel he's one of the few people who says, I'm going to do 100 issues, which no one ever says that. Mm-hmm. And then he's taken off.
Right.
And it's kind of like, it's kind of humiliating, I think, for him. He shouldn't have said in the first place.
Yeah, I think.
But it was because he decided to do this 100-issue story, which I think is a little nuts.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't understand the way Tom King's brain works.
Well, here's the thing about that issue 50, and people might not be aware of this. At the time when that came out, that was supposed to be the wedding issue, there was such a negative response to that issue. Diamond or DC, whoever, they offered to buy the copies back from the comic shops. They were able to send that back and get a credit. That was not the case when they were put out. But like there was such an outrage, they gave the option for the comic shops to receive credit back because it was pretty much misleading. It didn't happen. You know, I read that issue as well. They're still not married, by the way. We're 35 issues later.
I bought 5 side issues about getting ready for the wedding with all these different characters.
Right.
Like, and then there's no wedding.
Yeah. Who got married in the X-Men? It wasn't the same. The X-Men decided to put something up there.
Yeah. There was a bait switch thing going on. It was supposed to be Kitty and Colossus, and then no, Rogue and Gambit.
Yeah, they switched it. At least they gave us a wedding.
Yeah.
At least there was a wedding. It was literally the same time.
Right,
It was like within a week of each other between the Batman wedding.
I still want to see Kitty and Colossus.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. They're not married yet?
No.
Okay, that's good. But the City of Bane storyline by Tom King, like I said, his run is over. He is done. James Tynion is taking over. There's actually a preview of his book, I believe, in the last issue of the Batman. I might be wrong. I thought I heard that. I haven't checked my book yet. I'm very excited for him to take over.
I am too. Me too.
I'm so happy that Tom King's run is done. And I haven't read the conclusion to this. Did you read it?
I did not. I mean, the issue before really, that was the end for me. I mean, it should have been the end way before that, but you know, you had this big climax about to happen, this fight between him and Thomas, and I was waiting for this issue to come out. I'm like, here we go. It's finally going to happen. One punch is thrown. One punch, and then the rest of the issue is this whole backstory from Flashpoint all the way up until now on how Thomas Wayne came to bear on this thing. Yeah. And then the very last page is the aftermath of that one punch, and I'm like, dude, done. I don't care anymore. And so I haven't read the last. I have it, but I haven't read it. So I don't know. I'm excited for Tynion.
I am too. I'm looking forward to do it, seeing what he has to offer. And I'm thinking he's going to bring more of his horror element to it.
Sure hope
he
so.
really likes that type of
He has killed it on Justice League Dark. That's one of my favorite DCs.
Anyway, Tom King, thank you. What can we say? Something else about DC, though, this year that really came to light. And it's these right here. And I know you're a fan. You show that book.
Huge fan.
And I'm not talking about that title.
Right.
I'm talking about this DC Black
Label.
I mean, really, 2019 is the year of DC Black Label.
Yes. We thought it was going to disappear.
Yes.
I don't remember if that Batman Dan came out this year.
Yeah, I think it was the very beginning.
Very good. Batman Dan came out the very end of 2018.
Yeah.
The first book.
And the new head of DC was so upset by it that it looked like Black Label was going away. And for a few months it faded, and now it's come back with all sorts of great stuff. I know that Bob's read even more than I have.
Yeah.
I really liked what I've read there.
Well, what have you liked from the? Because there's right now, it's almost every week there's a new DC Black Label, and these are all self-contained stories. They're only like 3 or 4 issues. They're not very long, you know. And they're all separate stories, you know. So you don't need to know anything else. They're really cool.
Batman Last Night on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the title? Yeah, that was really good. Just 3 issues, I would say. The Wonder Woman looks like it's going to be really good. I'm trying to think of what my other comics are that are labeled Black Label.
Right.
And then kind of a sub-label of Black Label is now this
The Horror House.
the Hill House.
Hill House.
And that looks to be really good. I mean, I'm only reading one of those books so far, but I'm real psyched about that.
Yeah. The Hill House and the Sandman universe
Is now Black Label.
Black Label.
And I love Lucifer from that one. So I may need my soul saved. Then I turn to Bob.
We'll talk.
Just joking. Comics have no effect.
Right.
I think, honestly, the best stuff that DC put out this year was their DC Black Label stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different take. It's definitely a different direction from what you're accustomed to seeing type thing. There was a few hit and misses. I didn't care for the Frank Miller Superman one. I think that did.
Yeah, I read that whole thing, and it was hard to get through.
And there were maybe a couple other ones, but for the most part, they've all been received extremely well. And people are jumping on these books they're all Batman related, and I've said this in the past.
Most
You know,
of them have
most
been.
of them have been just like they can't get away from Batman. But I want to see all the characters involved in the Black Label type thing. I think it's a untapped market. I think it's going to be easy to see Marvel try to do something like this. Maybe, I mean, if you want to compare it to like Marvel Knights or something like that, I guess you could, or the Marvel
The
Max
Yeah.
series,
Yeah.
very similar, which they just introduced the Marvel
I
Max.
think that they've
Punisher.
done that because of what
Yep.
Black Label's doing. I really do.
But they
I
all
love
have a
the
feel.
short-term approach. They're just going to tell a story and then move on and tell a different one, not have a continuous series.
Exactly.
Which to me is what you should be doing. I mean, you know, let's just face it. The reason why a lot of the movies have been successful is because they stopped trying to tell a superhero story and tried to just tell a good story with superheroes being part of it. And that's what these Black Label books are doing. They're telling a good story that is set in that universe.
Yes.
And it's self-contained and it's not this huge arc. And I love it. I love most of what they've done with Black Label. I think it's great.
I think it's somewhat saving DC. I think DC was kind of in the dumps type thing, and I think this DC Black Label has brought so much attention back to that.
Yeah.
And the way they're handling it is awesome. Now I do have my gripes about the DC Black Label, and will you show
The
that one
sizes?
again? Yeah. Okay. I want to. I have an example. So here was the original concept of DC Black Label. The Batman Dam was the first one, correct?
Yeah.
And it was this size format.
Magazine,
All right,
prestige.
great. Okay, let me show you this one. Here is DC Black Label, Batman, Last Night on Earth, like you said, square bound, small, regular size book, but it's a DC Black Label.
I wanted it bigger because it has such great art.
It does have great art in it.
Here is another DC Black Label, the same size of that book, but not square bound,
It's a floppy.
floppy edition. Okay, better quality, DC Black Label, a little bit more money.
About freeze.
Yeah, you don't know what you're going to get with each DC Black Label in terms of format.
And then we have another DC Black Label, which is just a regular floppy.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a sample, but you get the picture.
But when its own side universe,
Yes.
right?
Now, pick one. Just pick one. Okay. Charge me, whatever you want to charge. Okay. If you're gonna, just pick one. I'm confused. I don't like the bigger one. For one, it doesn't fit with. As you can see, it doesn't even have a bagging board on.
Right.
Okay.
Let me just ask you a question. Are you OCD?
Well, your Black Label box is going to look like a mess.
Exactly.
But if they could just pick one and go with that, type format, I think the unification of them would pay them off. Whether it's the bigger size or not.
Sure.
But literally just to take the Black Label and stick it on multiple different types of books, I think that kind of devalues that label a little bit, to where if they were just the prestige format, bigger magazine, that's a Black Label book. I know just by seeing it, that's what that is. I think they would be doing themselves a favor if they kind of brought that all together.
Sure.
But Black Label tells me I can read this by itself. It's going to stand alone.
Yeah.
It's going to be aimed at a mature, intelligent reader. And so that so far has held true.
Yeah.
And it gives me confidence to keep trying Black Label.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really love the content that has come out of Black Label. I mean, it's for the most part has been really good. Me being a creature of habit, and I heard that they were getting rid of Vertigo, I was really like, what are you doing? And this coming out, replacing it, I'm like, you did the right thing. Because a lot of what was coming out of Vertigo, I feel, was really becoming stale. And this is it's amazing. It's refreshing, and I'm excited for DC books again.
So are you excited for DC? No.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, calm down there. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you guys want to add to DC before we hit the final Marvel? And I apologize if we're going longer than you guys thought, but I'm not surprised that we are, because
anytime we get together,
4 people talking about comics.
especially this group.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think we covered all the DC highlights.
For sure.
So
they have a lot of individual good things. My other gripe with them is this year has been the year of the villain.
yes.
It has, because I'm just reading individual series, not the whole universe.
Yeah.
And it's kind of ruined things, which often happens in Marvel books too. It's the more Marvel-like crossover.
Yeah, it
So
definitely.
you'll be, reading your favorite comic like Shazam, and suddenly it's the Shazam who laughs or something.
Right, right.
So
Yeah, that's the only event they've done that on, which I
Right.
appreciate that. But they just, like I said, they literally poured it into every title. It
Yeah.
doesn't have its own. It does have its own standalone books that are add-ons, but they just took that and they poured it into every single title.
Yeah.
That they got.
so that's been the weakest part of DC this year.
Right, and really, it doesn't seem like it's one big arc. It's multiple arcs that they're putting throughout the books.
Yes.
And I lost track. I can't tell which story begins, which one ends, and that's why I lost interest in it.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell with the big picture on that one.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree. And another thing, real quick, the cardstock thing with the B cover cardstock, I'm not a fan.
For $1 more.
For
right?
$1 more.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're going to be talking about the cost of comics here on our copy video for Monday.
Yeah.
That's going to be in that. We're going to talk about that. My main problem was with that, when I look at some of the third-party publishers, they use cardstock covers and they're the same price at $3.99. Vault has covers that are like that. Boom Studios has covers that are like that. And I pulled some examples for our Monday video. But just to charge $1 more for an extra piece of paper, one piece of paper, I don't enjoy that one bit. I literally, even though I'll look at, man, that is such an awesome looking cover. On principle alone, I won't buy it.
Yeah, understood. Yeah.
So, but that's just me. So let's move to Marvel. This is kind of the big gun. Marvel's obviously holds majority share of the market. Sam has been waiting here patiently for 2 hours with bated breath.
Because I'm like, oh man, you see,
I hope some of our Marvel fans are still left.
Yeah. We're moving to Marvel.
He's saving Marvel for last because he wants me to save my voice for the ending.
There you go.
Save the whole show.
We have, I'll jump in the chat real quick. It's just some names that kind of pop up. Jigs Kingdom, hello. C3 Comics, hello. We still have over 50 people watching this whole time. Tivia, hello. Is that right? I don't know. And a lot of people still here from the very beginning. If I miss you, my apologies. But thank you so much. And thank you also, like I said earlier, people who did the super chats. Very much appreciated. It does help us. I mean, that's pretty much what pays for everything in this room. Lights, electricity, cameras, all that stuff. So thank you so much, everybody. Let's go ahead and move to Marvel and the year that Marvel had. And let's go ahead and start with the Marvel events from this year. And let's go ahead and start with this one, The War of the Rings.
There we go.
And I'm really anxious to get Sam's input on this type thing because, he gave his DC books away.
Yeah. Oh,
this is the first. This is the first, and Damien's had enough. This is the first event I can think of. I'm probably missing an event type thing earlier in the year or whatnot, but this was the first big one I can remember. What was your initial thoughts of War of the Realms? Did you enjoy this one?
So I'll just tip my hat. When it comes to Marvel events, I wait till they're over.
Okay.
So the reason why is because usually it's the main 6 books that they put out that are the actual event, and then they doing 20,000 tie-ins. The tie-ins usually don't pay off, and 9 times out of 10, the big event doesn't pay off itself. So I usually wait to the end of it, hear what everybody says, and then I'll buy the trade. Or I'll go back and get the 6 original floppies.
Okay.
And so just tipping my hat, I have not read War of the Realms. And from what I can tell, from what I've heard of it, it's not something that interests me.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So you're not going to get it.
I won't get it. Yeah, I probably won't.
Did you get that one with Daredevil on the cover when he's holding
Yes, I
the
did.
sword?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
I figured you did. And you showed it on one of the copies.
I did.
Yeah.
Because I do pick up the variant covers with my boy on it. But
All right, Sam, it's coming down to you, man.
So this is crunch time here.
Why you're here, the Marvel part of the 2019 year in review. Did you read this series? There was multiple tie-ins, hard to keep track of.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts?
Okay. So I did pick up this series. I got some of the tie-ins, not all of them. I definitely did like that one. The War Scroll with Daredevil. With, he had the sword. He had the Hemdale's all seeing something there. But this was it had a good premise. But
What was the premise?
Was these guys taking over. They wrecked Asgard. They were wrecking all the realms, and and they were saving Midgard, Earth for last. And they came in and they invaded, and it was all about all the heroes had to try and fend off this huge army and wave of all these creatures from Asgard, and it was cool, but I don't know. It was crazy.
Did you read the whole main story?
I did read the whole main story. I mean, some of the ending was pretty cool, because you had Jane Foster. She went on to become a new Valkyrie.
Yeah.
You've got Thor. He is now the leader, the father of Asgard now. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I didn't get all the tie-ins. I got the Punisher one. Yeah. I got the Spider-Man.
Were the tie-ins that you did get, were they necessary for the story?
No,
no,
they were not.
And that's normally the case.
Although the Punisher one was pretty. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought.
But was it necessary? I mean, it was good, but was it necessary for the actual story of the War of the Realms?
No, I guess.
Okay.
I just thought that.
Very cool. That is normally the case with Marvel tie-ins. They'll do a bunch of them.
That's true.
But in regards to the actual physical story itself, the main story, very little to do with it. Little things here and there, but not much.
I got sucked into getting some variant covers of some of that stuff.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how many tie-ins there were, but it seemed like every week there was a new one for this book series.
Did you notice as well, besides normal tie-ins of the normal runs of books, they actually had also individual books that were standalone or a couple issue standalone side stories that they came out with. And that made it even more difficult, I think, as a collector to try to figure out, the whole scope of what we were trying to do with the story. I don't know. Did you guys see that as well? I mean, I've never seen that happen like that.
Not too much. No, not really.
Okay. Damon, how about you?
I skipped War of the Realms.
War of the Realms.
Which is why I walked off. No, because I had to make sure my wife was okay. But so I think I got a few issues here and there that said War of the Realms on it, and I couldn't even tell that it was part of it.
I honestly skipped it as well. I mean, I bought a few of the books, and then immediately I saw so many of the tie-ins. It just turns me off. It really does. It's so many. And I read the first issue, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of interested. And then they had like a sheet in the back or something where it had the list of diagrams. It was like some...
Try to do the Hickman thing?
Yeah, and I was like, what is this? And this is all the issues that you're going to have to get to know this story. And it had all the tie-ins and stuff. And I looked at that, I was like, give me a break.
Yeah.
And then they had the War of the Realms short box that was specially made for you to hold all your War of the Realms books. That you would literally fill the short box up with all the expansions for this thing. I was like, I can't do it.
That means 150 bucks.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was close. So the response to the War of the Realms, from what I heard, somewhat similar to Bob, it really didn't. Wasn't that great? I mean, there wasn't a huge buzz about it. There wasn't like, you have to get this. And we'll get to a one here in a second that you did hear that buzz every issue.
It didn't sound like it had that much of an effect on the whole Marvel universe either. Like some of the other events that we had this year, which really impacted the Marvel community.
So let's go to this one. This is another big event that they put out, the Absolute Carnage event. This is a major event. This is written by their top guy, if you want to call him that.
Donnie Cates.
Donnie Cates.
Yes, Sir Cates.
Great characters, Carnage, Venom, Spider-Man, that type of thing. This event crossed over into multiple titles, at least in the Spider-Man universe. This event had a ton of tie-ins as well. I was a little more interested in this one as far as the story. I thought it was kind of good. But as the main story went along, people were like just waiting for something to happen and waiting and waiting. And the payoff at the end was like, that's all we get type thing. That's kind of the response I got. And now the payoff, and this is spoilers, this is down a while, is Eddie Brock, he kills Carnage and
She absorbs the symbiote.
Absorbs the symbiote, and now the guy is coming to Earth. Nola's coming to Earth. But we don't know when.
Yeah, no.
It might be 2022 by the time he gets here.
Right.
So,
Assuming Donnie Cates keeps his job.
exactly. There you go.
That's a good point, right?
So the payoff was somewhat a whimper type thing. Great looking book. The stories, or the artwork, I mean, look really good. I really enjoyed those. A lot of great different variants, just kind of spice it up type thing. I read some of the tie-ins. They weren't, like I said, they weren't necessary for the most part. You know, they were just fun standalone stories. I think I read the Captain Marvel one, and it pretty much just introduced how she got there to join the party or whatnot. You know, so it wasn't really important type thing. A lot of stuff about his kid. You know, in here, I blank on the names.
I can't remember his name.
Dylan,
Dylan.
yeah, a lot of that stuff. It held me a little more interested than the War of the Realms. I could say that for one. I'm more of a Donnie Cates fan. But what's your initial thoughts of Absolute Carnage? I know you picked up a bunch of these.
I did, but you have to understand, again, my stance on big events with Marvel is I wait until they're done. The books that I picked up for Absolute Carnage were because of the individual covers that really grabbed me. I was more interested in the Absolute Carnage because of the fact that Carnage was in it. You know, I don't think, I'm sure you guys remember when Maximum Carnage first came out and how huge that was and how exciting that was at the time in comics. And so I love that character. So I was more interested in that, and the fact that Donnie Cates wrote it. But again, because of how much I've been burned by these events, I wait till they're done. This is one where even though I know what the ending is, I will be picking it up in trade.
Sure.
And then, you know, well, I'll finally get to read it from there. But since I am, you know, going to be reviewing, you know, the latest issue of Venom, which is kind of an aftermath, I did want to make sure that I knew what the ending of it was, so that's how I know it. So.
Very cool. Sam? Did you read you're a huge Spider-Man fan. I mean,
I am.
I mean, your channel's named after Spider-Man.
No, oh well, yeah, partly. Yeah.
Come on.
Maybe just a
You
spiders in general.
You run a Spider-Man fan group that has thousands of members.
Yes, this is very true.
Okay, what was the consensus from this group and yourself on this story? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I can't speak for all those other people.
You are. You're the face of this group.
I can be the ambassador. Okay. So I got this. You know, this series and a lot of the tie-ins. You know, this is something that Donnie Cates has kind of been building up to through in the Venom book, and then it went into Absolute Carnage. And I thought it was good, but again, it did not quite go where I thought it should have went, because it just
it kind of dragged.
It dragged. And then there were the tie-ins were like, oh, if you want to know what happened here, you got to go get this. And, you know, I'm like, whatever, you know. But it was okay. I thought it was okay. It wasn't the best.
Wasn't your favorite?
It wasn't my favorite. You know, and they tried to have some tie-ins with the Amazing Spider-Man. They had a couple issues there, and I'm like, yeah. So, no.
Man, that's too bad. I was hoping Sam would come through here. Best thing ever.
I was looking forward to reading it after the fact, but maybe
Have you read it?
No.
Oh.
With almost all events, I wait till afterwards.
Sure.
Because I just, I just find myself disappointed when I buy them issue by issue,
Yeah.
and I enjoy them if I read them.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Let's face it. I mean, the original big event was Crisis on Infinite Earths. I don't think that'll ever be topped.
Right.
I mean,
Secret Wars.
Yeah,
okay,
Come on.
Yeah,
but Secret Wars was written for a whole different reason, man. So
Totally on.
You have to be the right age.
right.
All right, let's move on. I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with this one. So this is the kind of they canceled X-Men. They canceled it this year. The Uncanny X-Men. They said, "Oh, it's no good," but then they're like, "No, we're going to reboot everything. Everything you ever knew about the X-Men, it's gone. It's gone." So we come out with House of X. There's number 1, and the Power of 10 or X, whatever you want to call it. Different approach to a series because the story kind of was jumping between the two, and you had to have the right reading order to get involved and stuff like that. There was no tie-ins. These were self-contained to the 12 issues, right?
12 issues.
12 issues. Just the reading order was a little confusing sometimes. But they basically, you could jump on this, and if you're somewhat familiar with the X-Men, you're good to go.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a huge response to this. This series now has spawned many different X-Men titles once this wrapped up. So this is probably their big one for the year because they're putting a lot of backing behind the X-Men universe. I'm assuming that Sam read it.
I sure did.
I'm assuming that you read some.
Mhm.
I don't know about Damien. Look at him over there, just like, what is going on?
I'm tailing on everything. I just got the trade for it in the mail. So.
Oh, so he did get it.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to ruin it for you right here.
Go ahead, ruin it.
So-
I've already had it ruined. I've been
All right.
listening to it.
Okay.
So, Bob, you read these books.
Yes.
I read them as well.
Mhm.
Really love the first one, the House of X number 1.
Mhm.
I read the second, the Power of X number 1. That's the second in the reading order.
Mhm.
Did not like it.
Mhm.
I was like, what's going on? This is weird. As it went on, that was how it was when I read those books. Liked it, didn't like it. What's going on? Liked it, didn't like it. Don't understand. Liked it. Okay, that's it. Very much, maybe it was the reading order or how it was, but and then introducing scenarios that I'm like, man, these are huge scenarios that might be putting them into a corner on how they get out of this or how they expand from it.
I have a theory on that, but go ahead.
Very broad, huge
Yeah,
things. You know, rewriting people's, backstory or their history or their powers or stuff like that. Just enormous differences type thing. But they went for it, and they went all in from that first issue. And now, like I said, we have multiple offshoots. We have Fallen Angels, Marauders, New Mutants. I mean, you name what else?
X-Force,
X-Force,
regular X-Men,
Excalibur,
Excalibur,
and regular X-Men, and then more to come.
right.
More on the way.
The new Wolverine book's coming out, all that, yeah.
What was your initial response to, the beginning of this major event, Marvel's big one for the year? Did you enjoy the books?
Okay, so first of all, I love Hickman's writing. He gets pretty in depth, and I like that. I do like his maps and things like that he does provide. That helps me. But really,
He has to draw maps so
I know,
we
I
know
know.
what's going on.
But when you have a story with the scope that he's created, I think it helps. I have my own theory on these books. But I'll just say how I like them. I was not as against Powers of 10, I think, as you were. I think about the third issue, I kind of started to understand where he was going with it. And creating the motivation as to what everything going forward is going to be and what it can be. And so I appreciated that. My theory on this whole thing is that this is not part of the Marvel Universe.
Okay.
We have not seen it cross over into any book so far. It's been out for 6 months.
Yeah.
And we have not seen, actually longer than that now, and we have not seen any of this spill over into any other Marvel book.
And something this big should.
It should. And I think because of the way, before they had the, Homo sapiens against, mutants. I forget the Homo superior, right? But it's been taken to such a level inside of this that in order for Earth to be saved from the mutant threat, I think it's going to come down to a lot of what heroes that we know coming up against this world.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to stay a pocket universe. That's my gut feeling.
Yeah.
So
now it should be known that in the very first issue, Fantastic Four was in the first issue of the House of X, very briefly, and it actually set up a scenario like, oh, I wonder what this it sounds like almost a Civil War type thing.
right.
Yeah.
That was my initial thought from reading that #1 book, because basically all the mutants are going to go live on an island,
Right.
and they're all forgiven for their sins, pretty much.
Pretty much.
They're offering them amnesty to come live on this island. Doesn't matter what you've done or atrocities you have made, hero or villain, you can come live on the island.
Right.
Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic is like, well, that doesn't sound right. We're here to arrest Sabretooth, was it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he committed a crime. And Cyclops like, no, he just come hang out. He's good. He's good. That's where I thought it was going. They didn't go on that direct. I don't know if, did Fantastic Four show up again?
No, I think
Not yet.
Fantastic Four was strictly a vehicle to bring Franklin Richards into this because, truth be told, because he was born the way that he is, he is considered a mutant. And we find out that he is one of the, huge level
There's going
power
to be a
mutants.
limited series
Right.
with that. At that point.
Yeah. So
Very interesting.
I think it is very interesting. I did like, what I read in both of those series. I don't like all of the books so far. I liked Fallen Angels when it first came out. That's kind of fallen flat. I think Marauders is the best of the books. Yeah. And Hickman on the original title X-Men, that's still going strong, I think, as well. And so.
How about you, Sam? First things first.
Oh.
Sam says, I'm not falling for this.
I did say that.
He said that before these books. I'm not falling for this.
Right, but here's
I'm
what
not
they're
getting
No. I said I'll read this whole event thing, and then after this I'm not going to get any of these X-Men books after the event, and I've kind of backpedaled and gotten some of them. I didn't get any of the Fallen Angels.
Well, what was your thought on the event, the House and Power of Exarchana, that initial 12-issue event?
Well, I mean, it kind of just sprang up. It seemed like it sprang up out of almost nowhere. Like, oh, Jonathan Hickman is going to do this huge rebirth
It did happen
of the
fast.
mutant thing, and this is going to be the next Age of Apocalypse or next Extinction Agenda or whatever. And I will admit, it is pretty darn impressive for Jonathan Hickman. This is a big thing here. But
it takes some balls to do that.
it is very.
I was just saying, it takes some balls to go in there.
Marvel said,
Do whatever you
what
want.
Yeah.
And this is canon.
Yeah.
Right.
This is canon to the storyline of X-Men.
You got like
Unless later this
you
dude
got
right.
you got
Exactly.
but you got this whole cloning process going on. The island is alive and they're living. It's like a country there that they portals coming to and from. There's a whole relationship going on.
Oh, yeah,
I don't want to get into it. With Wolverine.
That's on the other show.
And Cyclops,
Right.
yeah. But and Moira McTaggart is a mutant. That came out of nowhere. I mean, nobody saw that coming.
Nobody. I think that was a great rewrite of a character.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. So that's what It's great. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Something new.
Yeah.
So which X books are you on now that you weren't going to get on?
Well, no. Let's see. I'm on X-Men. Right now, I'm just on it.
Just that one. So, okay, so you limit.
But
You should moderate.
But I'm heading toward getting Marauders. So.
Are you picking up any of the X titles at all?
No, I'm just going to wait on since I already started waiting.
Sure.
I was never a big X-Men. Well, I was a big X-Men guy in the 80s, but not really since then.
So you just picked up the trade.
Yeah.
Did you pick up the trade because of what you've heard, or you just wanted to get it?
Well, when I first heard Hickman was coming back, I knew I would eventually get it.
Yeah.
And I'd already made a choice with everything Jonathan Hickman writes to read it in trade because his stories are so complicated.
Absolutely.
So I've been following his indie books
Yeah.
in trade, and I don't know if he's going to finish those indie books now. I'm not sure what's going on.
Well, it definitely seems, like I said earlier, it's such a big, huge scale type theories and events type thing. They're just world changing for the Marvel universe. If it still holds up, or if it's just a dream, I don't know. Like, oh, it's just a dream. St. Elmo's Fire or whatever. I don't know what it was.
Right.
Whatever it was.
That I agree. I've been saying that from the very beginning. Is that because of the way that it's been written, he has painted himself into a corner, I think. And so if it's not a standalone pocket universe, then I don't know what's going to happen. And so,
all in all, I think it was their best event.
Yeah.
I think the House and Power of X was their best event of the year.
absolutely.
It was
The
characters.
buzz was incredible.
Yeah.
I think a lot of new people or a lot of old readers came back to comics.
They did.
Sure.
That's what I was constantly hearing. I mean, there was. It contributed to. I think they said October was the best-selling month of comics over the last 3 or 4 years.
Right.
That thing, and it was mainly because of the X-Men books bringing people back in, and it also spiked other books. As far as like they introduced, the Myra McTaggart has mutant power. All of a sudden, her first run spikes.
Blue
Or the guy with the balls, blue balls, or whatever. Gold balls.
Gold ball.
Gold balls.
There you go.
Gold balls.
That's
That's
not
it.
really happened for some.
Gold balls.
I didn't know that was like.
Oh. But and even some of the issues themselves. I mean, issue 2 of this is like they're more than cover price. I mean, they're selling for $10 or $15.
The one mistake they made is that how big it would be. They didn't print enough.
Yeah, and there's multiple printings. I mean, they're like 8 printing type thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the trade is, or the hardcover, because I think it came with
Yeah, I got the hardcover.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to sell tons of copies.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see where they go. Like I said, they have a bunch of new X-Men titles. Not all of them are ongoing. They're limited runs, I think.
Right. Some limited.
And then they're introducing some other ones. I'm not a fan of the font they're using. They're using the font for all the X-Men titles.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of dumb looking, if you ask me. They're all calculator font. I call it.
Calculator font.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's calculator font. Man. Look, that is. Show that. That's calculator font. Right. Oh man.
Are they using a lot of that inside the book too?
No,
No,
just on the cover.
But
So-
the new Wolverine title. I mean,
It's got calculator font.
terrible looking.
I mean, I want my old school Wolverine.
Right.
Let me see. I want to real quick. We're almost done. My books got out of order, but there was some other great just series that came out. Silver Surfer Black. It actually wasn't one of my favorites, but a lot of people really enjoyed that.
I
one.
love that.
You did?
And I've been looking. Now it's out in this giant treasury size edition, and I've been looking at it, going, I already have the issues that I wanted.
That's a pretty
Yeah,
cool looking.
so that's
edition.
one I'm definitely going to get done. But I didn't read it while it was out. I just grabbed a couple of the
It
covers.
ties into the whole Carnage and all
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, great.
This series right now is on its 3rd issue. This is Spider-Man. This is written by J.J. Abrams. I've actually really enjoyed this run. It's it's a standalone type thing. It's in its own universe. I think it's a 6-issue miniseries. This one,
All year long.
except, let's be honest,
Yeah. The last couple of issues.
all the way up to issue 25,
Mhm.
extremely solid. Look,
Yeah.
people really enjoyed it.
I'm
That was the
worrying
end of the
about
story
it
arc.
now.
Yeah.
After starting with issue 25,
Yeah.
ironically, the big issue.
Right.
It's like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
this seems out of control all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So I think they're on issue 28 right
My
now.
Hulk.
Yeah, the whole
My buddy Hulk.
people are really not enjoying it. I've heard a lot of people say, "Man, I'm going to drop this book."
Well, we talked about that last issue. It seemed like there were 2 different artists on it.
Right.
Yes.
And they weren't. Yeah, it's a problem when they've guest artists, but
Yeah, I mean this Immortal Hulk's been riding a crest, and it seems to have dropped a bit.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's just a dip.
I hope
Yeah,
so too.
That's my
see.
prayer.
I mean, it's really got to make up a little bit.
The one thing about this title that will keep readers coming back is the Alex Ross covers. Well,
That's-
those people will be like, you know what? I'm not liking this book anymore. The writing's not what it used to be. But man, these covers are just top notch, And I think that will hold people's attention for a little bit longer than it would if it was somebody else doing the covers of the book.
I'm just worried about them possibly taking Al Ewing off of it I know he's starting up the new Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And you know, I just hope it doesn't take away from his writing. Because it's been really good.
So
Well, I
where's
think it dies without him. I mean,
I think so
the
too.
best
I think so.
amount.
Yeah.
But is he paying? I mean, with these last few issues, you wonder, is he losing the thread or something?
Right. Or maybe doing too much.
Yeah. Because it's pretty much been coming out twice a month,
yeah,
which maybe, you know, we mentioned earlier a long time ago in this show that things that come out too frequently end up rushed.
Yeah, absolutely.
so what are you guys' other Marvel books? We're wrapping it up here pretty quick here, guys, and I'm curious some other Marvel titles this year that you really enjoyed. Damien, we'll start with you.
Boy, I mean, the two we've mentioned.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed Don and Kate's on Guardians of the Galaxy. So, and now the Ewing's coming on it, I'll stick with that. And
Are they relaunching it, or issue 13, or issue
I
1?
don't know if they're
It's
relaunching. Is it going back
Okay.
to number one?
Okay.
Well, anyway, and I'm enjoying Valkyrie. I feel like there's some other Marvel stuff. I've been hearing great things about Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil.
Yeah,
so,
I like
but
that.
I,
Good.
you know, Marvel got a really bad rap with me with the bad paper and all of that. So I have mostly gone to trade waiting with
Yeah.
them. And I
Show it. I want to
I
see
have
that.
been
Pretty cool. Look
super
at this thing.
excited to. I've become more and more of a hardback collector.
Now this,
And Marvel has been going into these giant hardbacks.
That's
This is like
amazing.
the 5th
Yeah.
one they've done. This
That's
is
about the size of your
I think
torso.
this is
That's
bigger
good.
than the original art.
that is more than a coffee table book. That is the coffee table.
And the one that I haven't got so far that they've done is a Jim Lee X-Men one.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I've got all the Jack Kirby ones they've done.
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic
Yeah.
Four and Thor and Galactus and Jack Kirby's 70s work. And now it looks like they're diving into Ditko. Maybe we'll see some Neil Adams and some other stuff. But a lot of their hardbacks are really great. And so, yeah, with the X-Men thing came out in hardback, I was like, okay, I'm going to do that.
That's really cool.
Um,
Where'd you order that one from?
so I got this from In Stock Trades. So
Okay.
this cost $58.
That's not bad.
This is bad.
Its list price is $100, but it's an amazing amount of book
Yeah.
for $58.
That's awesome.
absolutely.
So, and I love Steve Ditko, so I'm just super excited.
They got this giant rocking chair over at the park in Salem. You should go see it. Look at that thing. Just sit there, like all day long. It would be so
I
hilarious.
have to put these things on the dining room table.
I'm diving into Ditko, buddy.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, I like the Daredevil. That was another
Yeah.
one. I've heard a lot of people talk about the old man Hawkeye.
Old Man Hawkeye
Was a
great.
big title. What any other Marvel titles that you enjoyed this year?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I definitely have been enjoying Daredevil and Immortal Hulk. I think those are my two names this year. I can't think off the top of. There's some of the Spider-Man titles. I like some of the directions they were going there. I can't think of anything else right now.
Sam,
No,
you're
come on.
always on board
Come
with
on.
Marvel titles. What do you like?
mean,
I know there's a ton of them.
Yeah. I mean, we could go. Let's start out with Avengers. I am shocked at how much I'm enjoying that, even though I'm not a total fan of the way She-Hulk is currently. Amazing Spider-Man is awesome. Let's see, Daredevil is really great stuff. Fantastic Four. We finally got to see again the Hulk versus the Thing. That I thought that was handled very well, and
You didn't get the cover you wanted, though, did you?
that was not my fault. That was other situations. Yeah, it's been a lot of good stuff coming up.
Absolutely.
One of the
ones
I'm impressed.
One of the ones I forgot about that has come out. I just saw it in the chat. It just reminds me. I really have been enjoying Doctor Doom. That's one of the newer books that's come out.
Yeah,
very well done. Liking that a lot. The little appearances by King the Conqueror just popping up and having conversations. Just great stuff.
I'm liking the new Punisher book right now, Punisher Soviet.
Punisher Show Soviet.
I think that's pretty good. trying to think. I like some of the. I did like some of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I read some of that when it first started. I wasn't a fan of Silver Surfer Black. That really didn't do it for me. I'm having trouble thinking off the top of my head, but I read the new Deadpool. I didn't enjoy that one that much. Savage Avengers. I kind of like that one. I've kind of enjoyed
That's
that.
actually one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I forgot
right,
to mention
that
Conan in general.
Oh,
Yeah,
all the Conan.
I'm like, what the heck is Conan doing hanging out with the Avengers? But something about it, it's cool.
And they started back up with Conan in January 2019, and then put him in like 20
Yeah.
books.
Yeah, he's all over the
kind of
place.
the year of Conan.
Yeah. Very much so. But all in all, you know, I've enjoyed Marvel stuff. But like I said earlier, it was the independent titles that grabbed me this year. And they grabbed me like really strong.
Yeah, very
It's
strong.
Like, it's like if I go in the comic shop and they have different sections, Indie, Marvel, DC, the first place I go is Indie. And I never used to do that.
Yeah.
Well, when you guys talk about price, I mean, you always get more for your money
Yeah.
in the indie books. Usually more pages, better by paper, all of that.
Yeah.
And of course, all the better story.
We have another $5 super chat from Coffee Breath.
Hey,
Great
Coffee
show,
Breath.
thanks. So that's pretty cool. Coffee Breath actually won our giveaway this past Monday.
Oh, that's right. That's
That's
right.
pretty cool. But you know, we've been going for almost. I don't know if you guys realize.
No, I didn't realize.
I know, but you know, it is what it is. I'm sorry, but you know, 2019, great year in comics. Not only comics, it's a great year in just meeting you gentlemen and stuff,
Yeah.
you know, and getting to know Bob and getting to know Damien a little bit more. I've known Sam now for a little more than a year and stuff, and awesome time. So 2019 will not be forgotten anytime soon. And really look forward to 2020, I gotta tell you.
I am too. You know, that's been one of the best things about this. I mean, I love all the comic books, but the best thing about, you know, getting back into comics and this year specifically has been meeting you guys, and then also getting tied into a lot of people from the comic community that I was never in contact with. And so it's been an absolute joy getting to know a lot of you guys, and hanging with you guys has been like, we can do this, you know,
That's proven.
as proven, and I love that.
There's a comment I'm looking at right now. It says, Bruce says, looking forward to 2020 books, ? And so here's the thing. We were talking off camera before we started, and this is something that I would like to do once a month, once every 5 or 6 weeks type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're all local. We all live, you know, fairly close to each other. As far as doing this, you know, like I said, it's not going to be a set time frame. You know, when we're all available, we're going to do it.
Sure.
And we kind of decided that we're going to rotate on channels. So it'll be on Sam's channel. It'll be on Everything Comics, Bob's channel. It'll be on Damien's Sleeper Reader 666 channel. All the links are down below. So make sure if you're not subscribed to these channels, please do so, because we're all going to probably show up on each other's channels.
Yeah.
But I think this is a great conversation. And every, you know, we're on Sam's channel. He's the host.
Aha.
If we're on yours, you're the host. If
All
we're
right.
on yours, you're the host. But and I volunteered my place for these guys to come over. It's just I have space to do it because I'm single. And, I'm able to get away with, you know, pretty much making my house a comic book place or whatnot.
Right.
But feel free if you guys want to host and put your name in there. Go ahead and we'll come over to your place. But awesome show. Thank you so much, everybody. Real quick, just remind, you know, the people of your channel and everything, just say thank you. Damien, you go first.
My channel is Sleepy Reader 666. You can also follow me on Twitter at Sleepy Reader 666. That's where I do most of my comic chatter. I haven't moved to Instagram yet. Thanks so much for having me on. It's been great.
Awesome. Really enjoyed it. Sam, what about you, buddy?
You know, find me on. I'm a web fiend. I'm on that Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter. You know, all of it.
Very much.
What are some of the Facebook groups that you have?
Oh gosh, so many.
Only the appropriate ones.
Okay. Oh yeah. That's true. Spidey's Tangled Web. They have a worldwide thing. Purple Hulk Smash Fest, and I have a wrestling one and a Marvel one.
Awesome stuff. A lot of followers.
Bob, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your channel and the coffee video you do at some other coffee shop.
So, of course, my channel is Everything Comics. You can find me there. And yes, I do a coffee video on Saturday mornings where I just talk about the comic haul that I picked up for New Comic Book Day a couple of days before. Just do some little spoilery reviews, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. I've had a couple of these guys, actually all three of you have been on my show now, and I do plan on rolling out some new shows coming out in 2020. I'm really wanting to do a couple of Comic-Con countdown shows that I'll be doing called Teaching My Wife Comics, where I'm going to basically be giving her comic books to read. And,
I tried that show. Of course.
Wife Tina, she really has actually been enjoying the content, and she's really gotten into it. And so this will be expanding her knowledge so that as I'm talking about something, she has a frame of reference and she's enjoying that. And then by that, I'm going to open myself up to things that she likes to do so that I wouldn't normally do. And that'll be the crux of the show. It'll be a lot of fun. But I'm looking forward to those things, but most of all, looking forward to being, furthering our relationship going forward. And then, of course, with you guys tuning in the show. Thank you guys very much.
Awesome. Thank you. I want to say, Bruce, thank you for the super chat. So let's keep it up, guys. Thank you so much, Bruce. Like I said, helps out a lot, everybody. I want to say real quick to all these gentlemen, so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure to be able to sit around here, talk about comics with a fellow Pacific Northwester. We've all lived in the Pacific Northwest for a while now. Some of us were born here. Some of us found our way here.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. If anyone's watching and you're from the Northwest, reach out to us. I'd love to add someone
we're
else
all
to this.
friendly than we look.
Yeah.
I'd love to have more on this table. I'd love to have him. Casey Vigilante, love him sitting at this table on Pacific Northwest. So if you're watching this and you're from Pacific Northwest, Bob, just a few months ago, realized that Mocha Express was right down the street from his
just
house.
up the street.
And he put 2 and 2 together. One of my best friends. It's so cool that that's happened. Similar things happened to Sam. I'm getting to know Damien better now. And even though we've known each other longer, maybe, but now he's here. He's on the show.
And I recognized Sam from his channel when I saw him at Excalibur, and that's how we first met.
That's awesome. A small world. So we're all here. So thank you, gentlemen. This has been a very long, fun show.
It's been awesome.
And looking forward to doing many more. And thanks, everyone, to the chat. Like I said, make sure you check out these guys' channels. Links down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You guys know what to do. We'll see you next time. Bye.
All right.
All right, let's see if I can do this. We weren't